Chapter 34. Entering the cave, Zhao Feng felt extremely cold. As he went deeper, the space in the cave gradually expanded. Inside the cave there were pythons that appeared from time to time, but they were mostly normal pythons. Fierce beasts were rarely seen. Zhao Feng's left eye would always predict them and deal with them from afar with his silver bow. As for the pythons that were close to him, he would use the thin curved blade to kill them. The thin curved blade was extremely sharp. Even if it was a fierce beast, Zhao Feng used his inner strength to cut it in half. Half the time it took to drink tea later, a blood-colored wall appeared in front of him. In the dark cave there was a strange glow. Under the blood-colored wall, there was a blood-colored pool that was bubbling with blood. Zhao Feng didn't know what the blood-colored pool was, but he felt that its aura was similar to that of the giant python from before. Blood ginseng, blood lingji, blood bamboo stone, 300 years old, 500 years old, 1,000 years old. When his gaze fell on the blood-colored wall, Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat and his face was filled with joy. On the blood-colored wall, there were some precious treasures, the oldest of which was over 1,000 years old. Zhao Feng had eaten 200 to 300 years old precious herbs before, so he naturally knew their value and effects. Normally, 500-year-old blood ginseng was worth around 10,000 silvers. As for the 1,000-year-old blood ginseng and blood lingji, they were even more rare in Sunfeather City. At this moment, Zhao Feng roughly calculated that there were around 2,300-year-old herbs, a dozen 500-year-old herbs, and 3,000-year-old herbs. 500-year-old blood ginseng has an effect on normal cultivators. As for 1,000-year-old herbs, even those of the 6th rank of the martial path and martial masters would need them. Zhao Feng's voice trembled as he couldn't help but let out a long roar to express the joy in his heart. One who survives a disaster is bound to have good fortune. Zhao Feng had survived a desperate situation, and now it was finally time for him to find this land of fortune. Walking in front of the blood-colored wall, Zhao Feng didn't immediately pick up the precious herbs on it. His gaze was locked onto the blood-colored spring. Beside the blood-colored spring, there was some shed python skin. The spring water flowed down from the rock walls to maintain its freshness. For so many precious herbs to grow on the blood-colored rock wall, the liquid flowing down from it must be something extraordinary. Zhao Feng's eyes were burning. He carefully squatted down and reached out a hand to touch the spring water. He felt a trace of warmth. Suddenly, a throbbing sound came from his left eye. A strange power came from the blood-colored liquid. It was even more powerful than the body-tempering liquid he used. Great! Zhao Feng was overjoyed. The blood-colored spring water was the essence of the power within the blood-colored rock wall. It was precisely because of it that precious herbs could grow on the rock wall for thousands of years. Thump! Zhao Feng no longer hesitated and jumped into the blood-colored liquid. Glug glug! Blood-colored bubbles rose around his body. Zhao Feng felt a powerful and hot energy enter his body through his pores. It first cleansed the surface of his skin and flesh, then after a buffer, the warm energy seeped into his body. Zhao Feng felt so comfortable that he couldn't help but moan. The power of this blood-colored liquid is several times stronger than the body-tempering liquid I bought. Zhao Feng circulated the air-crossing mantra and metal wall technique at the same time. The blood-colored liquid was magical. Not only could it strengthen the body like the body-tempering liquid, but it could also help internal cultivation. It could be used both internally and externally. Time flew by. Under the effect of the blood-colored liquid, Zhao Feng's air-crossing mantra and metal wall technique progressed at the same time. But relatively speaking, the blood-colored liquid had a greater effect on body tempering. This was because the medicinal energy first cleansed the surface of the body, and was absorbed by the flesh and bones by more than 70%. About half a day later, Zhao Feng felt that his metal wall technique had finally reached the peak of the 2nd level. At this moment he felt that his body had become extremely tough. The surface of his skin was like iron, and his bones were stronger. Metal wall technique has reached the 3rd level. My defense has doubled, and my strength has increased by 200 to 300 kilograms. Zhao Feng was very satisfied. If he could completely stabilize the 3rd level of metal wall technique, his body would be as hard as steel and he could block swords and blades. After reaching the 3rd level, Zhao Feng stayed in the blood-colored liquid for a few more hours. At this moment, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 4th rank of the martial path. As for inner strength, it was close to the 5th rank. In the Sky Cloud Forest, when he was on the verge of death, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 4th rank of the martial path. Even the gray-robed elder had reached the 6th rank of the martial path before he died. It looks like a martial artist's potential can be stimulated when they are on the verge of death. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh. After stabilizing the 3rd level of metal wall technique, he jumped out of the blood-colored liquid and came to the entrance of the cave. Roar, roar, roar! In the valley outside of the cave, some deadly beasts and even stronger wild beasts were fighting with each other. The scene was bloody and corpses were everywhere. These deadly beasts and wild beasts were all fighting to eat the bodies of 2 high-tier deadly beasts. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh. The value of a high-tier deadly beast's body was at least 10 times higher than that of a low-tier deadly beast. However, these deadly beasts and wild beasts could also eat the bodies of high-tier deadly beasts to strengthen themselves. Facing so many deadly beasts and wild beasts, Zhao Feng didn't dare to get close, so he quietly returned to the blood pool. I might as well cultivate here for a few more days. Zhao Feng once again laid in the blood pool to cultivate. The power of the Scarlet Spring was very miraculous. If he missed this opportunity, he would not get another one. Another half a day passed. Zhao Feng's cultivation and inner strength were close to the 5th rank of the martial path, and his metal wall technique had also improved. In the dimension of his left eye, the faint azure light had extended to 4 feet 9 inches. It's about time to break through to the 5th rank. Zhao Feng jumped out of the blood pool and first performed a round of Angry Dragon Fists. Angry Dragon Fists had long since been trained to the max level, and the power of some of its moves had even exceeded the limits of the original martial arts. This meant that Zhao Feng's Angry Dragon Fists was slightly stronger than normal max-level martial arts. From a certain point of view, it could be said that it had been upgraded to another martial art. After a round, Zhao Feng's blood and inner strength felt like they were burning. Tongue. Zhao Feng jumped up and plucked a 500-year-old blood ginseng. Normally, even if a martial artist reached the peak of a rank, they wouldn't be able to break through immediately. This was the problem of a bottleneck. Zhao Feng ate the 500-year-old blood ginseng in order to break through this bottleneck. The 500-year-old blood ginseng was stronger than 300-year-old blood ginseng. Zhao Feng felt the medicinal energy rampaging in his body. He hurriedly activated the air crossing mantra to guide and absorb the medicinal energy. One day and one night later, Zhao Feng felt the bones in his body crack, and his blood and inner strength intertwined. The amount of blood and qi in his body increased, and he could refine more inner strength. I have just broken through to the 5th rank, and the amount of inner strength I have almost doubled. My strength and body have also increased. Zhao Feng could clearly see his improvement through his left eye. Then, he stabilized himself in the cave for a day, and circulated the air-crossing breathing technique to absorb the medicinal energy. The inner strength that was pushed by the air-crossing breathing technique became more agile, and the speed at which it condensed was shocking. After breaking through to the 5th rank, Zhao Feng's overall strength had increased by a large amount. If he met the gray-robed man again, he was confident that he could win. Cultivation was a kind of basic strength. As one's basic strength increased, the power of all kinds of martial arts moves, martial Dao inner strength, and lightness martial arts would also increase. After stabilizing himself for a day, Zhao Feng ran towards the entrance of the cave. Roar! A soul-shaking roar came from within the canyon. Zhao Feng's blood shook and his eardrums hurt. His body was suppressed by a killing aura, and his blood was trembling uncontrollably. That is, his expression was one of shock. He saw a 7 to 8 meter long green-eyed wolf squatting in the canyon. It gave off a shocking killing aura, and as it roared, all the wild and deadly beasts within 10 miles knelt down. It was obvious that this green-eyed wolf was a high-tier deadly beast, and its strength wasn't any weaker than the double-winged sword-teeth tiger or the blood-red python. The green-eyed wolf sensed Zhao Feng, and with a roar it charged over like a tornado. What speed! Zhao Feng's left eye constricted, and he quickly circulated his inner strength, turning into a blur as he retreated into the depths of the cave. Boom! The cave shook violently, and an invisible wave of air swept in all directions. The remaining wave hit Zhao Feng's body, causing him to groan. A high-tier deadly beast, what terrifying power! Zhao Feng's body was hit by the wave of air, and he felt a faint pain. This was because he had circulated his inner strength to protect himself, and his metal wall technique had reached the 3rd level, so his body was like iron. If it was when he had just reached the 4th rank of the martial path, this wave of air would probably have killed him. Boom! The green-eyed wolf roared, and it charged at the entrance of the cave. Zhao Feng felt like the mountain was shaking. Luckily, the walls were hard enough, and the entrance of the cave was smaller than the green-eyed wolf. After a few attacks, the entrance collapsed. Boom! As the entrance collapsed, a large piece of rock covered the entrance. Ah! Zhao Feng's expression changed, and black lines appeared on his forehead. Then, with a slight trembling sound, the green-eyed wolf left the entrance. However, Zhao Feng could still feel its aura. After the blood-red python died, the canyon became the territory of the green-eyed wolf. Even if Zhao Feng could barely dig through the entrance, he would still have to face a powerful enemy. After thinking for a while, he gritted his teeth and returned to the blood pond in the depths of the cave. The cave was spacious, and there were still snakes and bats that could be eaten. It was enough for Zhao Feng to survive for a while. Plop! Zhao Feng jumped into the blood pond, closed his eyes, and focused on cultivating the metal wall technique. The blood-colored liquid was especially useful for body tempering. Zhao Feng felt his body burning, as if it was being corroded. His skin, flesh, bones, and meridians were all changing. Boom! 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 His left eye strangely throbbed, and a trace of warmth spread through his limbs and bones, greatly increasing the efficiency of his absorption of the blood-colored liquid. 2 hours. 4 hours. 6 hours. Zhao Feng felt his body become stronger, and his bones became as hard as steel. His heartbeat became more stable. The progress of the metal wall technique continued to increase, as if it would never stop. Half a day. 1 day. 2 days. Finally, 2 days later, Zhao Feng found that his metal wall technique had reached the 4th level. Chapter 35. The first 3 levels of the metal wall technique were only for the foundation. Only after reaching the 4th level and above would one be able to display its true power. Once this body tempering technique was promoted to the 4th layer, one's body would be like an iron wall, impenetrable by swords and spears. This meant that with Xian phase attack, Zhao Feng could take it with his body. A few cultivators of the 4th or 5th rank of the martial path wouldn't be able to hurt him. The 4th level of the metal wall technique didn't just strengthen the skin and flesh, it also melted the inner strength into the bones and flesh. It could greatly increase one's strength, and it could also increase one's resistance against swords, blades, and inner strength. Zhao Feng's current feeling was extremely obvious. He didn't need to use inner strength, but he could feel the power in his bones and muscles. I can easily defeat a cultivator of the 4th rank without using inner strength. I can even fight against a cultivator of the 5th rank. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and closed his eyes to feel the power in his body. At this moment, Zhao Feng finally understood the benefits of a body-strengthening technique. If he had reached the 4th level of the metal wall technique, he would have been able to deal with the attacks of the 3 martial artists at the same time instead of falling into a desperate situation. Tongue. Zhao Feng jumped out of the blood pool and stabilized his body for a few hours before he floated to the entrance of the cave. The entrance of the cave was blocked by a pile of rocks. Zhao Feng could see the situation in the valley through the cracks of the rocks. It's still here. Zhao Feng frowned as he saw the green-eyed giant wolf lying in the valley, snoring. He didn't dare to move, so he only moved some rocks away. Roar! Right at this moment, the green-eyed giant wolf howled, and a strong aura of killing intent echoed throughout the valley. Zhao Feng felt helpless as he returned to the depths of the cave. The green-eyed giant wolf was a high-ranked deadly beast, so it wouldn't be easy for Zhao Feng to get away with it. There's only 2 more days until the tournament starts. Zhao Feng was slightly anxious as he soaked in the blood pool. It was impossible to force his way through. The green-eyed giant wolf's strength was comparable to the 8th rank of the martial path, and anyone below the 7th rank would be killed instantly. There were 9 ranks of the martial path, and every 3 ranks was a dividing line. The 4th to 6th ranks of the martial path were the energy accumulation rank, and the 7th to 8th ranks were the energy breaking rank. Zhao Feng might be able to challenge someone of the 6th rank of the martial path, but he wouldn't be able to challenge someone of the energy breaking rank. The green-eyed giant wolf was equivalent to a chi-breaking stage master, or at least an 8th rank master. Even the elders of the Zhao sect might not be its opponent. Since he couldn't go out, Zhao Feng had no choice but to cultivate. Since he couldn't go out, Zhao Feng could only stayed in. The power of the blood-colored spring was indeed strong. Even though Zhao Feng's metal wall technique had reached the 4th level, he could still feel it increase, but it was much slower than before. Zhao Feng's metal wall technique had improved again. In the meantime, he had also consumed a 500-year-old blood lingji and a 500-year-old blood bamboo. The blood lingji could increase the inner strength of the martial path and strengthen the mind. After consuming the blood lingji, Zhao Feng felt his mind clear and his inner strength became purer. After eating the 500-year-old blood lingji grass, Zhao Feng felt his mind clear up and his inner strength became purer. With the help of the blood ginseng, his inner strength had reached the peak of the 5th rank of the martial path, which was comparable to Zhao Han's. The blood bamboo was even more special. It could nourish the body and expel toxins. Zhao Feng had been soaking in the blood pool for a long time, and he had consumed spiritual materials. His cultivation had increased at a fast pace, and his body had some hidden injuries and toxins. After consuming the 500-year-old blood bamboo, his body excreted the black liquid a few times, and he felt refreshed. His body had changed and his cultivation had increased a bit. At this time, Zhao Feng's inner strength was comparable to the peak of the 5th rank, and his metal wall technique was also close to the peak of the 4th rank. However, he wasn't happy at all. Today should be the day of the martial meet. Somewhat depressed, Zhao Feng sighed and shook his head. He was still trapped in the cave, unable to get out. It looked like he was not fated to participate in the main tournament. At the same time, Sunfeather City Zhao family. The main tournament was carried out in an orderly manner. In the inner disciples of the Zhao family, elite disciples that were rarely seen appeared one by one. First place Zhao Linlong, second place Zhao Qi, third place Zhao Han. One by one the younger disciples appeared, pushing the main tournament to a new peak. The family martial tournament was going on like a raging fire. Only a small number of people were confused. Why isn't he here? Zhao Yufei's eyes scanned across the disciples, but she didn't see Zhao Feng's figure. After half a month, Zhao Yufei had finally reached the 4th rank of the martial path. She had used the air-crossing breathing technique as well as some precious herbs. On the other side of the stage, there were 50 chairs divided into 5 rows, and 50 inner disciples sat on them. These 50 chairs represented 50 spots for inner disciples. The first 3 chairs were the top 3 disciples of the clan, and all of them were at the 5th rank of the martial path. Looking at their auras, Zhao Qi and Zhao Han had both reached the 5th rank of the martial path recently. As for Zhao Linlong, his eyes were closed from start to finish, and he was unfathomable. He didn't even look at the battles on the stage. Why isn't the outer disciple, Zhao Feng, here? Yeah, I heard that he defeated a disciple of the 4th rank of the martial path a few days ago. Some of the Zhao clan disciples discussed amongst themselves. Only a few of the higher-ups of the Zhao clan noticed Zhao Feng's situation. On the stage. If he came, he would be at least of the 4th rank of the martial path, so he should be in the top 5. But why? An old man with a white beard murmured to himself. This old man was the head judge of the outer disciples tournament, and he had stopped Zhao Tianjian from pressuring Zhao Feng. Today he was also one of the 2 head judges of the tournament. Humph, if he can come, then the sun will rise from the west. Zhao Tianjian's eyes flashed with anger, but then he thought to himself, but why didn't Grey Eagle give me a reply after he completed the mission? Sky Cloud Forest deep inside a dark cave. Zhao Feng was still soaking in the pool of blood, and his last bit of hope had gone down the drain. Time passed slowly. He was sure that the tournament had already begun, but the green-eyed giant wolf was still guarding his territory, so Zhao Feng didn't dare to act rashly. The only thing he could do now was to soak in the pool and practice the metal wall technique and air-crossing breathing technique. In the blink of an eye, another day had passed. Zhao Feng's metal wall technique slowly rose to the peak of the 4th rank. His inner strength had reached the peak of the 5th rank, and was even close to the 6th rank. Even his cultivation, which was the slowest, was close to the peak of the 5th rank. It's been a day since the tournament started. Zhao Feng no longer had any hope in his heart. Although the clan martial meet was important, but compared to his own life, which was more important, he had his own considerations. Furthermore, as long as he had enough strength, even if he didn't participate in the tournament, he wouldn't have to fear anything. Roar. A faint roar came from the canyon, coming closer and closer. Zhao Feng's figure leapt out of the blood-colored pond. That roar obviously came from the green-eyed giant wolf. Let's go take a look. Zhao Feng used lightly fairy, and in an instant he arrived at the blocked entrance. Through the cracks in the rocks, Zhao Feng saw the situation in the valley. At that moment, on the other side of the valley, about 3 to 4 miles away, a few human figures appeared. Humans. Zhao Feng was overjoyed at first, but then his mood became gloomy again. High-ranked deadly beasts were terrifying, and normal people wouldn't even be able to get close to them, unless there was a martial master amongst them. Zhao Feng's left eye was 3 to 4 miles away, but he could clearly see the faces of these people. Even the moles on their faces, the lines on their skin, it was all there. There were 3 people, 2 males and 1 female. Most of them were 17 or 18, and the oldest was only 20. At this age, it was almost impossible for them to be martial masters. In Zhao Feng's mind, which of the elders in the Zhao clan wasn't in their 70s or 80s? However, when the green-eyed giant wolf faced these people, it didn't attack immediately, as if it was afraid of them. The 2 males and 1 female were wearing black robes, so they should be members of some force. From 3 to 4 miles away, Zhao Feng couldn't hear their voices, since his ears weren't as powerful as his left eye. At this moment, the older youth in the lead calmly said, "This beast is actually capable of understanding human nature. No challenge." Another youth said in disdain, "Leave it to me." The last girl said timidly, "Okay, Sister Yuan, your battle skills are too weak. Now, you need to kill it in 1 move." The leading youth said. If Zhao Feng could hear their conversation, he would be shocked. Then, he watched as the young and inexperienced girl walked towards the high-level vicious beast and the gigantic green-eyed giant wolf. Roar. The green-eyed giant wolf howled and pounced towards the young girl. My God! Zhao Feng was dazed. At that moment, his heart rate sped up. The young girl could die in the mouth of the green-eyed giant wolf. Zhao Feng's left eye was pushed to the limit. In his vision, the world seemed to slow down by tens of times. Break. The young girl in his field of vision flew up gracefully. Her jade-like hand slowly drew a line, and a layer of strange green light condensed in her jade-like hand, transforming into a whirlwind of sharp light. It followed a strange trajectory and hit the head of the giant green wolf. Poochie. The skin of the green-eyed giant wolf that was harder than steel was cut open, and its head instantly exploded. It let out a cry of pain and fell to the ground dead. Boom! Dust flew everywhere, and only the corpse of the green-eyed giant wolf was left in a pool of blood. Such a scene. It made Zhao Feng stunned. His left eye was still twitching. In the pitch-black space, the faint green light split into 2 with a schwa, turning into 2 figures, one representing the green-eyed giant wolf, and the other representing the young girl. The 2 figures quickly approached each other. The small girl followed a strange trajectory, as if she had merged with some sort of force, and every move she made was filled with power, killing the green-eyed giant wolf in 1 move. The scene, especially the way the young girl attacked, was repeated in the pitch-black space, and was imprinted in his mind. Zhao Feng's body was like stone, and his eyes were closed, as if he had entered a mysterious state, as if he didn't feel anything. He didn't even know when the people in the canyon had left. Sister Yuan, this is your first time fighting. Although the opponent was weak, you did well. The youth in charge praised. When Zhao Feng opened his eyes, there was no one in the canyon, only the corpse of the green-eyed giant wolf remained. Everything that had happened before was like a dream, but if he opened his left eye, in the pitch-black space, he would repeat the scene of the young girl killing the high-ranked deadly beast in 1 move. Chapter 36. What is the background of those people? Zhao Feng was shocked, and he almost doubted the authenticity of what had just happened. What was even more bizarre was that his left eye had just activated a weird ability. The scene of the girl defeating the azure-headed giant wolf was absorbed into the dimension of his left eye. If Zhao Feng wanted to, he could open the scene at any time and comprehend it himself. Zhao Feng didn't think too much about things that he couldn't understand. However, this incident made him realize that his understanding of the world he was in was very limited. The azure flower continent was boundless, and there were countless countries. Just the sky cloud forest alone passed through tens of countries, and Sunfeather City was nothing. In this world, there were many unknown existences that he couldn't come into contact with. Recollecting his thoughts, Zhao Feng soon revealed a look of joy as he observed the scene in the canyon. With the death of the azure-eyed giant wolf, there was nothing else that could stop him. Leave quickly. Zhao Feng became slightly anxious as he thought about the main tournament. The entrance of the cave was filled with rocks, and he needed to open a path. Boom! The smaller rocks were no more than 300 kilograms, and when Zhao Feng punched them, he could shatter them into pieces with just his physical strength. If he circulated his inner strength, they would shatter into pieces. When he met larger rocks, Zhao Feng would use all his strength to move them. Normal cultivators of the 5th rank of the martial path had around 1,500 kilograms of strength. Because Zhao Feng's metal wall technique had reached the 4th level, he had at least 1,500 kilograms of strength. Of course, metal wall technique's biggest use was to strengthen the body and increase defense, but the increase in strength was secondary. Around half an hour later, Zhao Feng opened the entrance. He didn't leave immediately because there were still some natural treasures on the blood-colored rock walls in the depths of the cave. Woo! Roar! Right at this moment, the roars of wild and deadly beasts came from the outside of the canyon. The bodies of high-tier deadly beasts will definitely attract wild and deadly beasts. Zhao Feng had experienced it once, so he increased his speed. He quickly returned to the end of the cave, leaped up and flew to the blood-colored rock wall, plucking the few natural treasures on it. Zhao Feng only had one goal, which was to obtain the 3,000-year-old medicinal herbs, 1,000-year-old blood ginseng, 1,000-year-old blood lingji, and 1,000-year-old blood bamboo. He did this for 2 reasons. First, it was to save time to prevent too many dire beasts from gathering outside the canyon, especially high-level dire beasts. Secondly, Zhao Feng had consumed a lot of 300-year-old and 500-year-old precious medicinal herbs. For the current him, their effects weren't that great. Zhao Feng took down 3,000-year-old medicinal herbs. Zung! Without stopping, he turned into a blur and headed straight for the entrance of the blood python's cave. When Xiao Chun entered the canyon, he saw 7 or 8 ferocious beasts fighting each other. There were also several dozen other powerful wild beasts, each of them possessing strength close to that of a martial cultivator. Zhao Feng tried his best to avoid it. He had no time to care about the corpses of the high-level dire beasts. He ran toward the stream and the wild forest on the other side of the canyon. Even though he tried his best to take a detour, there were still a few wild beasts and a low-tier ferocious beast that pounced on him. "You're courting death." Zhao Feng snorted as he approached like a ghost and struck a low-tier ferocious beast with his palm. Crack! The low-tier ferocious beast's skeleton was split in half and it died on the spot. And Zhao Feng's palm strike didn't even contain any martial path inner strength. The low-tier ferocious beast that was killed was as strong as the Tiger King that he had met when he first came to the Sky Cloud Forest. After killing this low-tier ferocious beast in one move, the other wild beasts scattered in fear. Zhao Feng's body floated onto the stream, his feet lightly tapping on the water as he entered the wild forest on the other side. Following the route in his memory, Zhao Feng returned the same way he came. On the way back, he encountered a few more ferocious beasts. Because there were corpses of high-level ferocious beasts in the canyon, it had attracted the attention of many others. Flaming metal fist. Zhao Feng yelled as an azure aura surged around his fist, like a ball of fire, as he took on a low-tier ferocious beast that was comparable to a rank 5 ferocious beast. With just one punch, the low-tier ferocious beast that was comparable to a rank 5 ferocious beast had its organs shattered by Zhao Feng. After being cleansed in the spring and with the help of the blood lingji mushroom, Zhao Feng's martial path inner strength was much stronger than those of the rank 5 ferocious path. He used all of his air-crossing breathing manual, and his martial path inner strength could instantly kill someone of the same rank. 2 hours later, Zhao Feng returned to the edge of the Sky Cloud Forest and quickly rushed back to Sunfeather City. On the way, he leaped onto roofs and vaulted over walls, heading straight for the Zhao clan's territory. I heard that the Zhao clan's main tournament is about to end. The main tournament is split into the challenge for the quota and the challenge for the ranking. The former should have been settled, but I didn't get the chance to watch it. On the way back, he heard some related voices. After returning to the Zhao clan, Zhao Feng didn't immediately go to the main tournament venue. Instead, he ran back home and put away the 3,000-year herbs. Then he quickly changed his clothes and ran out the door. Leaping a few steps, Zhao Feng used the hiding air-breathing manual and quickly hit his cultivation at the peak of the rank 4 ferocious path. As for the inner strength, because it had absorbed too much of the herbs, the aura that leaked out was equivalent to that of the rank 5 ferocious path. This is the only way. Zhao Feng used lightly floating fairy and quickly arrived at the main tournament venue. At this time, the family tournament seemed to have reached a certain stage. After a day of intense fighting, the challenge for the quota has ended. The 50 inner disciples have been confirmed. Next up is the challenge for the ranking. The 50 of you will have to challenge each other to determine your ranking, and then receive the clan's reward. A powerful voice echoed throughout the entire venue. In the middle of the huge venue, there was only one challenge stage. It was 300 meters wide. On the other side of the challenge stage, there was a platform. On the platform, there were 50 chairs. On each chair, there was a person, representing an inner disciple. The first round of the challenge for the quota was for the outer disciples to challenge the previous inner disciples to compete for the 50 inner disciples spots. Zhao Feng quickly scanned through and found that among the outer disciples, Zhao Yufei, Zhao Yu, Zhao Yijian, Zhao Guang, and Zhao Qian had all made it into the 50 spots. However, these 5 people's seats were relatively low, and they were basically in the last 10 chairs. Only Zhao Yufei was in the top 20. Of course, this was only the temporary ranking from the first round of the challenge for the quota. The real ranking would have to wait for the next round of the challenge for the ranking. I'm still late. Zhao Feng flashed his identity token, passed through the guards and floated into the arena. It's Zhao Feng. It's him, the genius of the outer disciples. The moment Zhao Feng appeared, he attracted many gazes. Judge, I'm late. Can I still participate in the competition? Zhao Feng took a deep breath and walked in front of the judge, who was announcing the progress of the competition. No matter who you are, the first round of the challenge for the quota has ended. You are considered to have forfeited the right to participate, the judge said mercilessly. He did not think that Zhao Feng had any reason to give special treatment to him. It's him. On the platform, the white-bearded head judge's eyes lit up. During the Outer Disciples tournament, he was also the head judge, and he had witnessed how Zhao Feng had swept the Outer Disciples. Hearing the judge's merciless reply, Zhao Feng shook his head helplessly. With his current strength, he was not very interested in the tournament itself. There were only 2 or 3 people who could be his opponents, but what Zhao Feng was interested in was the prize. It was said that if he made it to the top 3, he could go to the martial arts library and choose a top martial art. Looking at the current situation, Zhao Feng knew that he could not force it. He was already extremely lucky to have had that opportunity in the Sky Cloud Forest. Wait! A voice sounded. It came from the white-bearded head judge. Head judge? You're... The judge was confused. In the Outer Disciples tournament, he swept away hundreds of disciples and obtained first place. His comprehension is excellent and his potential is immeasurable. We can give him a chance. The white-bearded head judge said indifferently. Zhao Feng was overjoyed, and immediately looked at the white-bearded head judge with gratitude. This was not the first time the head judge had helped him. I object. A cold voice came from the other side of the platform. Everyone turned to look. The person who spoke was Zhao Tianjian. A country has its laws and a family has its rules. How can the rules be changed just because of one person? This person even dared to be late for the family's tournament. How can he have any family rules in his heart? Zhao Tianjian spoke vehemently, as if he was filled with righteous indignation. Zhao Feng frowned, feeling somewhat disgusted. He was late because he thought that Zhao Tianjian had sent someone to assassinate him. Now he even wanted to stop him from participating in the tournament. That's right. Zhao Tianjian's words make sense. We cannot open the back door for this kind of person. He even dared to be late for the family's tournament. Kid, just wait for the next one in 3 years. There was no lack of people who took pleasure in his misfortune. Facing this argument, some of the higher-ups on the platform began to discuss in low voices. This year's family martial gathering was extremely important. Not only did some of the elders come, even the head of the Zhao family Zhao Tiansong came. They were all legendary figures. As the higher-ups of the clan, they had a different perspective. They would rather have more geniuses appear in the clan and focus on nurturing them. What do the two judges think? Zhao Tiansong's face was expressionless. There were 3 people who had the highest authority in the tournament: the head of the clan and the 2 judges. At this moment, the head of the clan, Zhao Tiansong, did not speak, but was asking for the opinions of the 2 judges. I support Zhao Feng. The family rules are to nurture more elite disciples and make the clan stronger, the white-bearded head judge said decisively. Immediately, many people looked at the other head judge. The other judge was a white-robed elder. Zhao Feng felt that he looked familiar. He quickly remembered that the other person was the white-robed elder who guarded the martial arts library. The white-robed elder also saw Zhao Feng, and a strange look flashed across his eyes. He muttered, "I also support Zhao Feng." As soon as these words came out, the crowd went into an uproar. Zhao Feng had the support of 2 judges at the same time. 3 people with the highest authority, and he had 2 of them. In this situation, even the head of the clan could not change the situation. How could this be? Zhao Tianjian's face turned green. Chapter 37. Alright, let's do as the 2 judges say, and allow Zhao Feng to participate in the martial gathering. The head of the family, Zhao Tiansong, looked at Zhao Feng with interest and made the final decision. The 2 judges and the patriarch voted unanimously, and the higher-ups of the clan had no more objections. This huge reversal caused Zhao Feng to be overjoyed, and for the first time, he felt a sense of belonging to the Zhao clan. In the corner, Zhao Tianjian was so angry that he was trembling. Until now, he still could not believe that Zhao Feng could come back alive. Grey Eagle's assassination plan actually failed. Zhao Tianjian immediately felt that something was wrong, but his heart could not accept this reality. With Grey Eagle's strength, and such a meticulous assassination plan, how could it fail? Zhao Feng, the judge said in a low voice, you have received permission from the patriarch to participate in the overall competition. Next, I will explain some rules to you. Yes. Zhao Feng listened carefully. With regards to the rules of the overall competition, Zhao Feng also had a rough idea. The martial gathering's overall competition implemented a challenge system. The first round was the quota challenge competition, where 50 outer disciples would challenge 50 fixed quota inner disciples, and if they won, they would obtain the corresponding ranking and quota. Every outer disciple only had 3 chances to challenge, and if they failed all 3 times, they would not be able to enter the inner disciples. Thus, every outer disciple had to weigh their own strength before challenging, and choose the weaker inner disciples. Zhao Feng, you were late for the competition, and delayed the progress of the martial gathering, so you only have 1 chance in the quota challenge competition. The judge's voice was stern. Only 1 chance? Zhao Feng's expression did not change and nodded. I understand. With his strength as the number 1 outer disciple, no one doubted that he could fight his way into the inner disciples. Unless Zhao Feng overestimated himself, and used this only 1 chance to challenge the top 3 Zhao Linlong, Zhao Han and the others. Of course, Zhao Feng would not do such a stupid thing, and directly challenge such a strong opponent. Next, you can choose 1 person to challenge, and if you win, you can replace that person's position. The presiding judge reminded. Alright. Zhao Feng leaped onto the stage and scanned the 50 people on the opposite side of the stage. 50 people, sitting on 50 chairs, arranged in order. On the top row, from left to right, were Zhao Linlong, Zhao Qi, Zhao Han, and Zhao Qin. The 10 people in the first row represented the top 10 inner disciples. In the second row, Zhao Feng saw Zhao Yufei at the 17th position. Zhao Yufei's eyes met his and she smiled, looking a little expectant. The 2 of them were neighbors in the inner circle of the family. They sparred with each other from time to time and were relatively familiar with each other. Other than that, Zhao Yu, Zhao Yijian, Zhao Qian, and Zhao Guang were all in the 5th row. They were probably in the 40s to 50s. Other than Zhao Feng, there were 5 people in the outer layer who had charged into the inner layer. Who should he challenge? Zhao Feng smiled as he scanned the 50 disciples of the Zhao clan. Among them, Zhao Linlong, who was ranked first, had his eyes closed, as if he was comprehending something. It was as if the competition had nothing to do with him. He didn't need to worry about those who were ranked higher. However, some of the disciples at the bottom were a little worried. After all, Zhao Feng was the top disciple of the outer layer, and his cultivation had reached the 4th rank of the martial path. With such strength, he could at least be in the top 10 inner disciples. Second row 6th. Zhao Feng's eyes were fixed on a disciple of the Zhao clan to the right of Zhao Yufei. Number 16 Zhao Fei. Please come out. The presiding judge said. Zhao Fei was 16 or 17 years old, and he had a strong body. Although he was only at the peak of the 3rd rank of the martial path, his aura was comparable to some of the 4th rank martial artists. Kid, don't think that you can beat me just because you've reached the 4th rank. Zhao Fei was very experienced. When he stepped onto the stage, his aura was calm and he didn't panic at all. TSK, Zhao Fei is a powerful figure in the outer layer. His cross-iron body has reached the peak of the 3rd rank, and he has beaten 2 martial artists bare-handed. Zhao Feng might not be able to win against him so easily. Many of the disciples below the stage looked slightly interested. In terms of winning, Zhao Feng definitely had a higher chance of winning. However, his opponent was strong, and it would be hard for him to win easily. Iron Palm. Zhao Fei had only used a middle-ranked martial art, which was out of everyone's expectations. Whoosh! When Zhao Fei thrust out his palm, blood and qi burst out from his palm, and the power was even stronger than some high-ranked martial arts. Peak level. Zhao Feng was slightly moved. In the outer layer, he was the only one who had trained a middle-ranked martial art to the peak level. However, this was the inner layer. What was more amazing was that Zhao Fei's iron palm and cross-iron body complemented each other, and they could unleash a terrifying power. Therefore, in terms of strength, this punch could easily beat Zhao Yijian's cold flowing sword, which had reached a high level. Zhao Fei's strength is no weaker than a half-step martial artist. Some of the inner disciples nodded their heads in approval. Flaming metal fist. Zhao Feng slowly threw out a punch. This time he used a fundamental fist technique. Not only that, he only threw out a simple punch without any inner strength. Many people were surprised by this scene. If he used a fundamental fist technique, Zhao Feng would lose to his opponent in terms of martial arts rank. If he didn't use inner strength, then his biggest advantage as a martial artist would be gone. Kid, you dare to be arrogant. A fierce glare shone in Zhao Fei's eyes. She sucked in a deep breath and pushed iron body training and iron palm to their limits. He didn't want to win against Zhao Feng, and he just wanted to exchange a few blows. But since his opponent was so arrogant on the stage, the two figures quickly approached each other, and their fists and palms collided. Break. Zhao Fei's face was full of viciousness, but reality was cruel. Bang bang. The moment the fist and the palm collided, he felt an immense force that caused his entire arm to go numb in an almost barbaric manner. Ah! Zhao Fei screamed as cold sweat dripped from his forehead. He felt that Zhao Feng was as hard as an iron wall, as steady as Mount Tai, and as powerful as a bull. Bang! Before Zhao Fei knew what was going on, he was sent flying by a powerful force, and he couldn't get up for a long time. In one move, Zhao Feng defeated Zhao Fei. The expressions of many people in the audience changed. They were shocked and slightly surprised. No one was surprised that Zhao Feng could win, but the ease with which he defeated Zhao Feng in one move made people reevaluate his strength. He didn't use inner strength, and only used fundamental fist techniques to win. Zhao Feng has also practiced a high-level body-strengthening martial art, and his rank is not low. Zhao Feng, challenge successful. Now you are ranked 16th in the inner area. As for Zhao Fei, according to the rules, you have 3 more chances to challenge him, the judge announced. After defeating Zhao Fei, Zhao Feng calmly went to the opposite side of the stage. Zhao Feng sat on the 6th empty chair in the 2nd row. At this moment, he was sitting on the 16th chair, and Zhao Yufei was sitting on the 17th seat next to him. Your metal wall technique is at least at the 3rd level, Zhao Yufei said in surprise. Zhao Feng had learned the metal wall technique from Zhao Yufei's grandfather. According to what Zhao Yufei knew, the metal wall technique was extremely difficult to learn, and her grandfather said that Zhao Feng could only reach the 2nd level before the finals. But from Zhao Feng's performance, he had at least reached the 3rd level. That's right. Zhao Feng smiled and didn't deny it. His metal wall technique had indeed reached the 3rd level, and it was at the peak of the 4th level. There was a huge difference between the 3rd and 4th level. Zhao Feng hadn't used his full strength when he fought against Zhao Fei. On the stage, the competition continued. According to the rules, Zhao Fei still had a chance to challenge someone else if she lost. Soon Zhao Fei defeated another person and was ranked 26th. Due to Zhao Feng's sudden participation, the competition was slightly delayed. There were only 50 spots for the inner area, and one more had to be eliminated. Half an hour later, the 50 spots for the inner area changed slightly and were determined again. Zhao Feng and the other 5 outer disciples had successfully entered the inner area and became one of the inner disciples. The competition has ended. The judge let out a long breath and announced the next round. Now that the 50 spots for the inner area had been determined, it was time to compete for the rankings. According to the rumors, the top 20, top 10, and top 3 would all be rewarded handsomely. Especially the top 3, it was said that they would be rewarded with top-tier martial arts. This was something that Zhao Feng was interested in. It could be predicted that there would be intense competition for the top 20, top 10, and top 3. Furthermore, the ranking of the inner area was related to one's honor. The disciples present were all below 18, and they were full of youthful vigor and desire to win. The second round is the ranking competition. Each of the 50 inner disciples has 3 chances to challenge. Every time you fail, your chance will be reduced by 1. The judge announced the rules. The rules were clear. Those who were ranked lower would challenge those who were ranked higher. If they won, they would replace those who were ranked higher. Each person only had 3 chances to challenge. If they succeeded, their chances would not be reduced. If they failed, their chance would be reduced by 1. Understood. Everyone nodded. The ranking competition would start from the bottom to the top. Starting from the 50th place, however, it was already not bad for those who were ranked at the bottom to be able to retain their spots in the inner area. Therefore, there weren't many challengers between the 40th and 50th place. Even if there were a few challenges, they were all for the sake of ranking or to show off in the clan's martial gathering. The 40th place, the 39th place, the 38th place. The ranking of the challengers increased bit by bit. It wasn't until the 20th and 30th place that the challengers became more and more intense. Zhao Yu, Zhao Yijian, and the other 2 from the outer area all made it into the top 30. Among them, Zhao Yijian reached the 12th place and Zhao Yu reached the 15th place. All in all, the top 20 of the inner area were at least quasi-martial artists. As for Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei, because they were both martial artists, they weren't challenged even though they were in the top 20. In the entire inner area, there weren't more than 10 people who had reached the 4th rank of the martial path. To be exact, there were only 6 or 7 of them. This was also considering the rise of Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei. After the top 20 were confirmed, the next round of the competition for the top 10 began. Soon it was Zhao Yufei's turn. Zhao Yufei was right behind Zhao Feng. After her challenge, it would be Zhao Feng's turn. In the top 10, there were quite a few who hadn't reached the martial artist realm. Zhao Yufei challenged the 6th place and easily won, entering the top 10. After entering the top 10, Zhao Yufei gave up on the challenge this round. This way, she still had 2 chances left for the next 2 rounds. 16th place. Zhao Feng, it's your turn. At this time, the judge reminded. Chapter 38. After a round of intense battles, it was finally Zhao Feng's turn. Zhao Yufei, who was originally 2nd in the outer disciples, had entered the top 10 and was ranked 6th. As the top outer disciple, who would Zhao Feng challenge? At this moment, the top 6 were all martial cultivators. Especially the top 3, who were all at the 5th rank of the martial path. Zhao Linlong, who was ranked 1st, had reached the peak of the 5th rank, which was slightly higher than Zhao Feng's true cultivation. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Zhao Feng slowly stood up and said calmly, "I give up this round." "What? Give up?" Many of the inner disciples were dumbfounded, causing a small commotion in the crowd. "If you give up this round, you only have 2 chances left." The judge was slightly surprised. However, according to the rules, the challenger could indeed give up this round. Zhao Feng naturally had his reasons for giving up this round. His target was the top 3, and there weren't many competitors. It was only the first round, so there was no need to act so quickly. Moreover, he could first understand the top three, especially Zhao Linlong's strength. The top three were all at the 5th rank of the martial path, so Zhao Feng didn't dare to underestimate them. You think that I can't do anything if you don't challenge me? Zhao Han, who was ranked 3rd, had a cold gaze as a mocking smile appeared on his face. Zhao Feng also felt his hostility. Before the competition, Zhao Han had said to him, "Pay him back in his own coin." Now, after 10 days, Zhao Han's cultivation had completely stabilized at the 5th rank of the martial path, and he had completely grasped the inner strength of the peak 5th rank. 15th, 14th, 13th. The challengers were getting stronger and stronger. The battle for the top 10 was extremely intense, but it was mainly focused on the 7th to 10th ranks. This was because the top 6 were all martial cultivators, and their positions were unshakable. After a series of exciting duels and battles, the top 10 were basically settled. At this moment, the battle for the rankings had reached the top 5 and even the top 3. I challenged Zhao Qin, who was ranked 4th. A young man in cyan clothes who was ranked 5th, held a halberd and challenged Zhao Qin. The 4th place was Zhao Qin. Zhao Feng had an impression of her. She was a quiet and elegant girl who had watched the entire outer sect martial meet. "Zhao Qin, you've just broken through to tier 4, and you're already challenging me?" Zhao Qin had a gentle smile on her face. Her martial arts style was also gentle like water, using softness to overcome hardness. She excelled in lightness martial arts and footwork. "Among the top 5, the only one I can challenge is you. Let's have a good fight." Zhao Qing's blood boiled as he brandished his halberd. His strength whistled through the air, terrifying to the extreme. This was only the beginning of the competition. The first round of confrontation between the martial artists was extremely exciting. This was especially true for Zhao Qing. He had infused his inner strength into his attack, and could defeat any martial disciple. With his strength, even if he was besieged by 7 or 8 martial disciples, he could still win easily. The two fought for a long time, and in the end Zhao Qin won. She had a high cultivation base and was proficient in martial arts. She used softness to overcome hardness, and her mind was calm. The 5th place Zhao Qing's challenge ended in failure, and his ranking remained unchanged. Next was the 4th place Zhao Qin's challenge. Looking at the top 3, Zhao Qin couldn't help but feel a little bitter. The top 3 were too strong, all of them were in the 5th rank of the martial path. However, it was not her style to admit defeat so easily. "I challenge the 2nd place Zhao Qi," Zhao Qin said. Zhao Qi had only reached the 5th rank recently, but his inner strength was not as strong as Zhao Han's. "Hehe. Zhao Qin, you know you will lose, but you still want to challenge me," Zhao Qi said lazily as he jumped onto the stage. On the stage, the two faced each other. Zhao Feng, who was ranked 16th, was slightly interested. He was about to see the strength of the top 3. Azure Cloud Finger. Zhao Qin's figure floated into the air, and a blue aura appeared on her finger. Although it seemed soft and weak, when it slashed through the air, a chi-chi sound could be heard. This finger skill of hers was a high-ranked martial art, and she had mastered it to the high level. This finger skill of hers is not bad. It's extremely concentrated, and it combines the flexibility of water and the hardness of ice. Zhao Feng's left eye could clearly see the profundity of Zhao Qin's finger skill. They were both high-level martial arts, but Zhao Qin's mastery of it was more profound than Zhao Yijian's, and the power was incomparable. "AI, you've only improved by this much." Zhao Qi's lazy voice sounded. Shua. An afterimage flashed, and Zhao Qin's finger attack missed. She knew that things were not looking good. So fast. She had underestimated Zhao Qi's strength. Zhao Qi's movement skill has reached the high level. Some of the disciples below exclaimed. Sky Howling Fist. Zhao Qi appeared from the back and threw a punch at him. He punched out, and a fiery red aura wrapped around his fist. As it moved, it let out a howl that sounded like thunder. Some of the inner disciples on the stage felt their eardrums vibrate, and their blood boiled. What a terrifying fist technique. I'm afraid this martial art is close to the top. It's no weaker than my iron wall technique. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Dancing blue cloud. Zhao Qin exclaimed as she took Zhao Qi's attack head-on. Her clothes fluttered in the wind, and she flipped a few times in the air before landing on the ground. Her body swayed and she almost puked out a mouthful of blood. With just one punch, Zhao Qin was forced into a corner. She used her softness to counter Zhao Qi's attack, and only then did she barely manage to escape. But this attack still caused some internal injuries to Zhao Qin. I'll just treat it as a warm-up. Zhao Qi casually attacked again. What he did next made the disciple's heart skip a beat. High-ranked movement skill, high-ranked movement skill, high-ranked inner force skill, high-ranked body skill. Zhao Qi displayed his techniques one after another. He had trained many high-ranked martial arts, and most of them had reached the high level. He had even trained his body skill to the 4th level, making him invulnerable. There are no obvious flaws and there are no obvious flaws. Furthermore, his Sky Howling Fist is close to a peak-ranked martial art. Zhao Feng was secretly surprised. This was a tough opponent. No wonder Zhao Qi looked down on him at the end of the outer disciple sparring session. With Zhao Feng's strength, he wouldn't even last 3 moves against Zhao Qi on the stage. The battle between Zhao Qi and Zhao Qin was like child's play. After exchanging 20 moves, Zhao Qin was gasping for breath as she was exhausted. She took the initiative to leave the ring and smiled bitterly. I admit defeat. Zhao Qi knew that she could only last 20 moves because Zhao Qi was going easy on her. If Zhao Qi used his full strength, she wouldn't even last 3 moves. None of you have the right to fight for the top 3. Zhao Qi said casually as he glanced at Zhao Feng, who was ranked 16th. Zhao Feng felt as if he had been seen through. How did he know that he wanted to fight for the top 3? From the current situation, 4th place Zhao Qin and 5th place Zhao Ling had both given up. 6th place Zhao Yufei didn't seem to have any intention of fighting for the top 3 either. After Zhao Qin's challenge ended, it was Zhao Han's turn. Zhao Han! Zhao Han! Voices came from below the stage. It was hard to imagine how popular Zhao Han was. Zhao Han is one of the most popular candidates for the top spot. I heard that he had a fortuitous encounter and his strength increased greatly. He has the highest chance of beating Zhao Linlong. Zhao Han's appearance had ignited the passion of the martial meet to a new peak. Even Zhao Qi, who was ranked 2nd, looked at him with a serious expression. Of the 50 inner disciples, only 1st place Zhao Linlong had a calm expression. Zhao Han stood on the stage and his eyes scanned past Zhao Linlong and Zhao Qi. He was ranked 3rd. And there were only 2 people ranked above him. Would it be Zhao Linlong or Zhao Qi? Many disciples of the Zhao clan were looking forward to it. Whether it was Zhao Han challenging Zhao Linlong or Zhao Qi, it would be an exciting battle. However, something unexpected happened. Zhao Han's eyes scanned past Zhao Linlong and Zhao Qi before he turned to look at the 2nd row. The disciples of the Zhao clan in the 2nd row were terrified. The 1st row was for the top 10 and the 2nd row was for the 11th to 20th. The person I want to challenge is the 6th person in the 2nd row. Zhao Han's eyes were cold and domineering as his voice sent chills down everyone's spine. The 6th person in the 2nd row. Zhao Han wasn't challenging the top 3 or even the top 10. He was challenging the top 20, the 6th person in the 2nd row. Who was that unlucky bastard? Everyone's gazes shifted to that location, and their expressions changed slightly. Me? Zhao Feng was shocked. That's right. The person Zhao Han was challenging was him. Zhao Han, are you sure you want to do this? The judge frowned and said in a low voice, if a person with a higher rank challenges a person with a lower rank and loses, your rank will be taken by your opponent. Even if you win, it won't do you any good. Instead, it will be a waste of a chance. According to the rules of the competition, a person with a higher rank could challenge a person with a lower rank. However, there were no benefits to doing this. Instead, it would be disadvantageous. I'm sure. Zhao Han's eyes locked onto Zhao Feng and a hint of killing intent flashed through them. A few of the inner disciples had a look of understanding on their faces. Many people knew that Zhao Han was Zhao Yijian's cousin, and they had a good relationship since they were young. Zhao Yijian, who was ranked 12th, immediately looked at Zhao Han with gratitude. He then looked at Zhao Feng with hatred and unwillingness. What's wrong, Zhao Feng? As the top disciple of the outer disciples and a martial artist genius, don't you have the courage to fight? Zhao Han stood on the challenge stage and mocked him. What's there to be afraid of? Zhao Feng's expression was calm as he leaped onto the challenge stage. Although he expected to fight Zhao Han, He didn't expect him to be so eager. I'll break one of his arms later and settle this small matter. Then I'll challenge Zhao Linlong. Zhao Han calculated in his heart. At this moment, there was a slight commotion in the crowd as people discussed among themselves. Zhao Han is challenging Zhao Feng, who is ranked lower than him? It's obvious that he wants to take revenge for his cousin Zhao Yijian. Zhao Feng is so unlucky. Although he's powerful, Zhao Han had a fortuitous encounter recently and his strength has skyrocketed. He's still a popular candidate for first place. Most of the disciples didn't think highly of Zhao Feng. Their eyes were filled with pity or gloating. Although Zhao Feng was ranked first in the outer disciples and was a martial artist, there was still a huge gap between him and Zhao Han, who was ranked first or second in the inner disciples. Chapter 39. On the stage, two martial disciple geniuses faced each other. One was the Black Horse, Zhao Feng, who had swept the outer disciples, while the other was one of the top inner disciples, Zhao Han. The crowd quietened down. Towards this battle, no one felt that there was much suspense, but they were still excited. Zhao Han's face was cold, and the inner strength in his body started to move, emitting a strange cold pressure that created a formless cold wind in the surroundings. Even from a few yards away, Zhao Feng felt a coldness envelop his body. This wasn't an illusion. It was the true coldness that came from the inner strength in Zhao Han's body. What a strong inner strength, and it even contains a special element. It's even stronger than some peak 5th ranks. Some of the higher-ups of the Zhao clan exclaimed. Indeed, the inner strength in Zhao Han's body was too shocking. That day when he fought with the 3rd-ranked Xian Tong of the Xian family, Zhao Han had used this huge advantage to win in one move. At that time, Zhao Han's strength had seeped into their hearts. Today, Zhao Han's control over the inner strength had far surpassed the last time, and his aura had become even more terrifying. Zhao Han, this kid, had a fortuitous encounter a few months ago, and he absorbed the power of a mysterious ice shard, allowing his inner strength to break through. An elder of the higher-ups smiled as he explained. So it's like that, but fortuitous encounters can't be forced. The elders of the higher-ups nodded their heads. The Green Flower continent was boundless and had existed for thousands of years, leaving behind countless mysteries and ruins. The beings that lived on this continent all had fortuitous encounters, and one day they would soar into the sky. Without a doubt, Zhao Han was one of these lucky people. In this half a year, he had relied on his fortuitous encounters to increase his cultivation and strength, and he now had the qualifications to become first in the inner disciples. Zhao Feng, I'll give you 3 moves. Zhao Han looked down from above, and the coldness in his voice seemed to have merged with his inner strength. Just a few words were enough to cause others to tremble. 3 moves? The crowd did not think that he was arrogant. Instead, they thought that it was only natural. After all, Zhao Han's ranking was way higher than Zhao Feng's. If he did this, he would not be criticized for bullying the weak after he won. Ha ha ha. 3 moves? Zhao Han, is that all you've got? Instead, I can give you 10 moves. Zhao Feng let out a long laugh. He was unexpectedly domineering as he retorted sarcastically. 10 moves. The crowd was in an uproar. They looked at Zhao Feng as if they were looking at a monster. Not only did Zhao Feng not want Zhao Han to let him have 3 moves, he even took the initiative to let him have 10 moves. This counterattack, at least in terms of momentum, was not the slightest bit weaker. In fact, it was even slightly stronger. After the uproar, the hall returned to silence. He must be joking. He must have said it out of anger. You can't take it seriously. Someone shook his head. He's going to lose anyway. What's the difference if I let him have 10 moves? 10 moves. Zhao Han's face turned green and his eyebrows twitched. His chest was burning with anger and his words were bone-chilling. You're asking to be humiliated. Whoosh! Before he finished his sentence, a cold aura rose from his arms and shoulders. It was like frost in winter, giving off an oppressive coldness. Many of the 48 inner disciples sitting across from him shuddered at the sight of this. Zhao Han snorted and a layer of frost appeared on his palm. It was like a heavy ice blade as he slashed towards Zhao Feng. With his cultivation of the 5th stage of the martial path and his powerful inner strength, Zhao Han's palm could shock anyone in the 4th stage of the martial path. First move. Good. Zhao Feng exclaimed. He didn't attack, but he circulated his air-crossing art and metal wall technique. Two figures, one attacking and one defending, clashed. Pa! Zhao Han's palm landed on Zhao Feng. The latter squatted down and twisted his arm, successfully blocking the cold palm. In an instant, the two inner forces collided with one another. Tung! 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 One of the figures retreated a few steps, followed by a surprised and angry shout. What's going on? The disciples of the Zhao clan were stunned, because the figure that was retreating pathetically was Zhao Han. Zhao Han retreated a few meters and stabilized himself. His face was gloomy. His arm went numb and he couldn't help but exclaim, how can he have such terrifying strength? 10 days ago, Zhao Han had fought with Xian Tong. Xian Tong's body-strengthening technique was powerful and could almost threaten him. But compared to Zhao Feng, the Xian Tong of that day paled in comparison. You're not the only one in this world who has a fortuitous encounter. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face as he released a sharp yet agile inner strength. The inner strength had even broken through the 4th rank of the martial path and reached the 5th rank of the martial path. The most important thing was that Zhao Feng's inner strength was extremely condensed, unlike Zhao Han's, which relied on quantity to win. Inner strength of the 5th rank of the martial path. The elders on the spectators' stand were shocked. Zhao Feng's cultivation level was at the peak of the 4th rank, but his inner strength had reached the 5th rank. His body-strengthening technique is extremely powerful. I'm afraid it has surpassed all the inner disciples of the clan. The white-bearded judge had a smile on his face. It turned out that supporting Zhao Feng was the right choice. I can feel the aura of a treasure on him. It looks like he has had some luck recently. Zhao Tiansong said with his eyes squinted. Kid. I only used half of my strength just then. Zhao Han's eyes were cold and he was a little angry. Cold snow palm. Zhao Han's figure floated over and he slowly thrust his palm forward. Although the palm seemed slow, it contained an even more powerful inner strength. Before the attack even reached its target, the coldness had already caused the opponent's blood to freeze. The second move. Zhao Feng calmly circulated his air-crossing breathing technique and metal wall technique to block Zhao Han's attack. Bam! A low rumbling sound could be heard in front of the two. When the inner strength of the martial path collided, a ring-shaped wave of air swept out 4 to 5 meters, enough to injure a martial disciple. After the second clash, Zhao Han took a few steps back, and his arm was numb. After pushing Zhao Han back, Zhao Feng also felt a cold inner strength enter his body. However, after reaching the 4th rank of the metal wall technique, not only did his body become like an iron wall, but it also increased his resistance against inner strength. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's air-crossing breathing technique was not to be trifled with. He also had the cultivation of the 5th rank of the martial path. This is impossible. Savagery appeared on Zhao Han's face as he furiously circulated his inner strength and leapt towards Zhao Feng. But in his eyes, Zhao Feng was like a steel wall, unmoving and unmoving. No matter how hard he attacked, Zhao Feng's iron wall was unbreakable. Zhao Han was pushed back again and again. What a strong body! This level of defense is probably the strongest among the inner disciples. The disciples of the Zhao clan were all stunned. The second move, the third move, the fourth move. Every time Zhao Feng blocked an attack, he would give Zhao Han a warning, which put a lot of pressure on him. That's right. Since the beginning of the battle, he had only been defending and had not attacked. Oh my god, is he really going to give Zhao Han 10 moves? That's right, it's already been 5 moves. And he hasn't attacked yet. The crowd was in an uproar. On the chair, Zhao Yijian, who was ranked 12th, looked pale. How can this be? When did his strength increase to such a level? Miracle? Why can't it be me? Not only is he not dead, but he also has a miracle. Zhao Qianjian's face was green, and he almost exploded in anger. He had hired someone to assassinate Zhao Feng, but instead, he had helped the enemy advance by leaps and bounds. This was truly a case of going for wool and pecking the rice instead. His defense is like an iron wall, and he can even defend against inner force attacks. He has at least reached the 4th level of the iron wall technique. Zhao Yufei's face was full of shock. She couldn't believe her eyes. Even if she told her grandfather this, he wouldn't believe it. The iron wall technique that Zhao Feng cultivated was from her. Zhao Yufei knew the power and difficulty of this martial art. The 5th move, the 6th move, the 7th move. Zhao Han's attacks became more and more frenzied. In the end, his eyes were filled with chaos, and he bit his lips until they bled. However, every attack made the skin between his thumb and forefinger split, and blood flowed out. Not only did he not hurt Zhao Feng, but he was also injured. The 9th move, the 10th move. Zhao Feng's voice suddenly became louder. Zhao Han, 10 moves have passed. Your strength is getting weaker and weaker. How disappointing. His voice was like a nightmare, and it made Zhao Han's body shake. 10 moves had passed. Zhao Feng wasn't joking. He said he would let you have 10 moves, and he meant it. He meant it. This scene shocked many of the Zhao clan's disciples and elders. It could be expected that after 10 moves, Zhao Feng wouldn't be on the defensive. Angry Dragon Fist. A ball of green aura appeared in Zhao Feng's palm. It was like an illusionary flame, and it whistled like a dragon. He had executed the Angry Dragon Fists, the Angry Dragon Fists that had almost surpassed the consummate realm. Now Zhao Feng's Angry Dragon Fist was about to break through the original style, and it had the elegance of the air crossing manual. The elegant fist hit Zhao Han's weak point, and the moment it hit its target, it exploded with a power like the roar of an angry dragon. Wah! Zhao Han spat out a mouthful of blood, and he took a few steps back. His arm was almost broken, but at this moment, he had completely lost his mind, and he roared as he counterattacked. But the more he fought back, the more weak points he had. In Zhao Feng's eyes, his opponent was like a child waving a stick. When Zhao Han was at his peak, Zhao Feng thought that he could be on par with Zhao Qi, or even slightly stronger. But now that he had lost his mind, he was no longer a threat. I don't believe it, lose. After being defeated again and again, Zhao Han became more and more frenzied. He only used his inner strength without any technique. Soon Zhao Feng dodged Zhao Han's attack, and he kicked Zhao Han's stomach. Bang! Zhao Han's body flew tens of meters through the air, and he fell flat on his face. I don't believe it. Zhao Han struggled to get up, and he wanted to counterattack. Judge, hurry up and announce that he has lost. Zhao Feng frowned and reminded the judge. Only then did the judge wake up, and he announced, Zhao Han has lost the challenge. The challenged Zhao Feng will take the 3rd place. 3rd place? A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. His goal was to enter the top 3 of the inner disciples, and he had achieved it. Chapter 40. As the judge announced the result, the disciples of the Zhao clan started to discuss among themselves. The battle between Zhao Han and Zhao Feng was a huge upset. As the black horse of the outer disciples, Zhao Feng continued to create miracles and set new records. Ever since the start of the martial meeting, he had overcome all obstacles and defeated many youths of the same clan, rising up miraculously. Now he had defeated Zhao Han, who was ranked 1st in the inner disciples, and was now ranked 3rd. Zhao Feng had a smile on his face as he sat down on the 3rd seat in the 1st row. To his right was Zhao Qi, who was ranked 2nd. His face was filled with shock and suspicion. When the outer disciples' competition had ended, Zhao Qi had come to watch. Facing the 1st-ranked outer disciple Zhao Feng, he did not take him seriously at all. After Zhao Qi had defeated Zhao Qin, he had pointed out Zhao Feng's ambition and warned him that no one else had the right to interfere with the top 3. However, at this moment Zhao Feng, who he did not think highly of, was sitting right next to him. Top 3: Zhao Linlong, Zhao Qi and Zhao Feng. Next it was Zhao Qi's turn. Zhao Qi lazily stretched his waist and walked onto the stage. Zhao Qi, who are you going to challenge? There was a smile in the presiding judge's eyes, and he looked a little mischievous. As the 2nd ranked, who else could he challenge? All the disciples of the Zhao clan looked at Zhao Linlong. Zhao Feng was sitting 3rd. After Zhao Qi left, his sight was unobstructed and he sized up Zhao Linlong for the first time. Zhao Linlong was wearing a golden robe. His body was straight and his eyebrows were black. He had an aura that was as deep as the ocean. Since the start of the competition, Zhao Linlong had closed his eyes most of the time. His face was expressionless. Even when Zhao Feng defeated Zhao Han, he was as calm as usual, as if he was a bystander who had nothing to do with it. Zhao Linlong, give me some face and come up. Zhao Feng's frivolous manner carried a hint of self-mockery. First place, Zhao Linlong. The presiding judge reminded. Yes. Zhao Linlong got up slowly. The moment he stood up, a golden afterimage flashed. After that, a few afterimages flashed with strange and unfathomable trajectories before descending onto the arena. Why are there so many Zhao Linlong? Afterimage. So fast. The audience cried out in alarm. Many of the spectators couldn't see Zhao Linlong's figure clearly. What kind of footwork is that? It's so strange and mysterious. Zhao Feng's eyebrows twitched slightly. Even though his left eye could clearly see Zhao Linlong's trajectory, he couldn't see through the changes, let alone the flaws. Zhao Linlong, I haven't seen you in half a year, and your shadow step has reached its peak. No wonder you are one of the top 4 geniuses of Sunfeather City. Zhao Qi was shocked. Shadow step was a high-ranked movement skill. It was one of a kind amongst the high-ranked martial arts. Who would have thought that there would be someone in the Zhao clan who had trained this high-ranked martial art to its peak? A high-ranked martial art at its peak. Many of the Zhao clan's disciples could only look up to him. In the entire Zhao clan, there wouldn't be a second genius who could train a high-ranked martial art to its peak. Zhao Qi, your comprehension isn't bad. You're the only one who has the right to fight me. Today, I will fight you with my cultivation of the 4th rank. Zhao Linlong said casually. As these words came out, many of the Zhao clan's disciples had ugly expressions. Apart from Zhao Qi, there wasn't anyone else who had the right to be his opponent. Zhao Linlong's words were a little hurtful, causing many to be unhappy. How could the 3rd, 4th and 5th place geniuses of the Zhao clan endure this? Zhao Feng, who was ranked 3rd, slightly furrowed his eyebrows, but soon recovered his composure. Ever since he had seen the mysterious girl in the sky cloud forest, Zhao Feng had understood how vast the world was. There was always someone better than you. His ambition had become even greater, and he no longer wanted to stay in Sunfeather City. He wanted to explore the outside world. Damn it! This Zhao Linlong, Zhao Han, who was ranked 16th, had a face full of hatred and unwillingness. Not long ago, he had had a fortuitous encounter which caused his cultivation to skyrocket. His inner strength had reached the peak of the 5th rank, and he was even close to reaching the 6th rank. This sudden increase in strength made him, who was originally ranked 3rd, instantly become one of the top contenders for the number 1 position in the Zhao clan. In terms of fame, he even surpassed Zhao Qi, who was ranked 2nd. However, with Zhao Linlong's words, he felt as if he had been thrown into a freezer. However, Zhao Han couldn't retaliate. He had just lost to Zhao Feng, so he had no right to speak. At this moment, the battle on the stage began. Heaven Howling Fist. Zhao Qi's fist was surrounded by a fiery red aura, and the sound of it was like thunder colliding. In terms of style, Heaven Howling Fist was similar to Zhao Feng's Angry Dragon Fists. However, the difference between the two was an entire level. One was at the peak of the high rank while the other was at the peak of the intermediate rank. Zhao Qi's Heaven Howling Fist was as powerful as a peak of the 5th rank. Adding on the fact that he had trained his movement skills, body strengthening skills, and movement skills to a high level, the damage he could deal was even more terrifying. In terms of overall strength, Zhao Qi is indeed harder to deal with than Zhao Han. He doesn't seem to have any weaknesses, and his attacks are also very strong. Zhao Feng nodded his head. Zhao Han's strength came from his inner strength, but his body-tempering martial arts, light body martial arts, movement techniques and footwork were not considered strong. Take this. On the stage, Zhao Qi shouted as his fist landed heavily on Zhao Linlong. Shush! Only an afterimage was left on the spot. In the next instant, Zhao Linlong appeared next to Zhao Qi with a faint smile on his face. Zhao Qi's punch didn't even touch the corner of his shirt. What was even more shocking was that Zhao Linlong was only half a meter away from him. Zhao Qi broke out in cold sweat. At this moment he could even smell the scent on Zhao Linlong's body. Misty Rain Step. Zhao Qi wasn't someone who was easy to deal with, so he also used a high-ranked movement skill. His body became erratic, and he moved back and forth with Zhao Linlong. In an instant, the two figures weaved back and forth, dazzling the eyes of the spectators below the stage. Both of their movement skills were high-ranked martial arts. Movement skills were different from movement skills. The former was more suited for close-range combat, while the latter was more suited for large-scale combat. The reason why Zhao Qi had the right to fight with Zhao Linlong was because he had mastered many high-ranked martial arts. High-ranked fist skill, high-ranked movement skill, high-ranked movement skill, high-ranked body strengthening skills. Every single martial art had been trained to a high level. Zhao Qi didn't let a single drop of water slip through his defense. He used all kinds of martial arts together to form a powerful combination. His performance had surpassed Zhao Han's. But even so, Zhao Qi was still at a disadvantage after exchanging a few blows. After exchanging more than 10 blows, Zhao Linlong was able to suppress Zhao Qi with his cultivation of the 4th rank of the martial path. "I'll make sure you accept your defeat." After 20 blows, Zhao Linlong smiled and pointed his finger. A purplish-green aura spun like a needle. It was hard to imagine how much he had refined his inner strength. Shush! It was only a sliver of inner strength, but it gave off a bone-chilling aura. The moment his fingertip pointed out, an erratic piercing sound came from the air, causing people's minds to be thrown into disarray. Spatial cloud finger. In his field of vision, that finger seemed to pierce through the clouds and mist in the sky, faintly discernible, as if it was overlooking the mountains, rivers, and earth. That is, Zhao Qi's heart thumped wildly. Taking a deep breath, he gathered all of his strength and inner strength to face the terrifying finger that seemed to be able to penetrate into his mind. Sky-howling lightning. Zhao Qi's fist left a fiery red trail in the air. It was as if a bolt of lightning had pierced through the heavens. The power of this punch surpassed any of the Zhao clan's disciples, and it became Zhao Qi's strongest punch in his life. However, as the fist flew out, Zhao Qi felt like he couldn't breathe. Zhao Qi's finger seemed to be standing on a higher ground. It was like the difference between an ant and an elephant. Boom! The two shocking moves clashed with each other. Zhao Qi felt a sweetness in his throat and blood dripped down from the corner of his mouth. Not bad. You managed to take a hit from a peak-ranked martial art. At his side, a young man in a golden robe stood with his hands behind his back, and he seemed like a monarch amidst the strands of strong gales. Peak-ranked martial art? It's not a shame that I lost. Zhao Qi admitted defeat with a bitter expression on his face. Spatial cloud finger. Peak-ranked martial art. Countless disciples of the Zhao clan, including some elders of the Zhao clan, were shocked. When did Zhao Linlong learn a peak-ranked martial art? Haha, Linlong has already learned the first 3 moves of spatial cloud finger. That was only the first move. Zhao Tiansong's face was red. Congratulations to the head of the family for taking in such a talented godson. The elders of the Zhao clan all nodded their heads. So, Zhao Linlong was the godson of the head of the family. What was even more amazing was that he had learned the first few moves of a peak-ranked martial art. One had to be at least at the 7th rank of the martial path to learn a peak-ranked martial art. Those who could learn a peak-ranked martial art were usually martial masters. Bao Han, you have failed, but your ranking remains the same. Zhao Linlong, first place, remains the same. The judge announced. The first and second places' rankings remained the same. Zhao Linlong and Zhao Qi both returned to their seats in front of Zhao Feng. Zhao Linlong returned to his seat expressionlessly and did not challenge anyone. In his eyes, there was no one else in the Zhao clan that he could challenge. Just like that, the first round of challenges ended. Next was the second round of challenges. Everyone had 3 chances at the beginning. There were very few challengers in the second round. This was because the rankings had been decided in the first round. However, when it came to the 16th place Zhao Han, he challenged Zhao Qin and won the 4th place. Then Zhao Han challenged Zhao Qi and Zhao Linlong. In the end, Zhao Han used his inner strength to fight Zhao Qi to a draw, and his ranking remained the same. However, when his opponent was Zhao Linlong, Zhao Han was defeated in 3 moves. He wasn't like Zhao Qi, who didn't have any weaknesses. Therefore, in front of an expert like Zhao Linlong, he didn't even last 3 moves. First place Zhao Linlong. Second place Zhao Qi. Third place Zhao Feng. Fourth place Zhao Han. The top 4 inner disciples were the 4 giants of the Zhao sect, and no one could challenge them. Among the 4 giants, Zhao Linlong was far ahead of them. He had defeated Zhao Qi and Zhao Han in succession. Among the 4 giants, only Zhao Feng did not fight with Zhao Linlong. Third place Zhao Feng, it's your turn, the judge announced. Chapter 41. It's my turn again? Zhao Feng rubbed his chin as he sat on the 3rd seat. The only people in front of him were Zhao Qi and Zhao Linlong. It would take some effort to beat Zhao Qi, but he was confident that he could. If he challenged Zhao Linlong, Zhao Feng would definitely reveal his true power. Recently, his cultivation had been improving too fast. If he revealed his true power, it would attract too much attention. Zhao Feng had to hold back to defend himself against Zhao Tianjian and the others. Furthermore, Zhao Feng was not confident that he could win against a top-ranked martial art. I give up. After weighing the pros and cons, Zhao Feng decided to give up. His goal was to get into the top 3 and get his hands on a top-ranked martial art. Now that he had achieved his goal, there was no need for him to risk his life. Zhao Feng's decision to give up shocked many people, but they did not find it strange. After all, with Zhao Feng's cultivation, it was already a good result for him to be in the top 3. I give up too. Zhao Qi looked at Zhao Feng. In the first round, he had seen the battle between Zhao Feng and Zhao Han. Zhao Feng's strength was only slightly above his, and he might be able to compete with Zhao Linlong. The 3rd and 2nd places gave up. Zhao Linlong did not think that he had a worthy opponent, so he did not issue a challenge. Just like that, the 2nd round ended abruptly. Zhao Linlong, Zhao Qi, Zhao Feng, Zhao Han, Zhao Qin, Zhao Yufei, Zhao Qing. The top 7 were all martial artists. The rankings were basically set. This is the last round. Everyone has one last chance, the judge announced. After the 2nd round, there were not many people who wanted to challenge in the 3rd round. However, when it came to Zhao Yufei's turn, there was a small twist. I challenged Zhao Qin. Zhao Yufei's beautiful eyes were as clear as crystal, with a trace of a mischievous smile. Her challenge surprised many people. All right. Zhao Qin nodded and went on stage. Soon the 2 beauties faced each other on the stage. Whether it was Zhao Qin or Zhao Yufei, both of them were prettier than ordinary girls. What was even rarer was that both of them were gifted. When the 2 girls went up the stage, the hearts of many youths couldn't help but quicken. It was not hard to imagine that these 2 girls were the dream lovers of countless young men of the Zhao clan. The special comparison was Zhao Yufei. She was younger than Zhao Yufei. She was charming, elegant, and pure. Her beauty far surpassed that of ordinary beauties. Zhao Linlong's eyes lit up as he was attracted by Zhao Yufei. Azure cloud finger. Butterfly leaf palm. The 2 girls shouted. Their graceful figures intertwined with each other in a pleasing manner, dancing in the air or turning around. For a long time, Zhao Qin was the number 1 girl in the Zhao clan. Her cultivation was close to the peak of the 4th rank, and she was older than Zhao Yufei. In comparison, Zhao Yufei was 2 years younger, and she had just reached the 4th rank of the martial path not long ago. However, as expected, Zhao Yufei didn't seem to be at a disadvantage after exchanging more than 10 moves with Zhao Qin. Zhao Yufei's inner strength was graceful and agile, but it was as light as the wind. In terms of speed, it was a notch higher. Zhao Feng understood that Zhao Yufei was also practicing the air crossing manual, but there was a gap between them. This also made up for the difference in cultivation between Zhao Yufei and Zhao Qin. After 20 blows, Zhao Qin's expression became serious. She pushed her inner strength to the extreme and used the azure cloud finger without holding back. However, Zhao Yufei was unexpectedly difficult to deal with. She was agile and could advance and retreat at will. 30 blows. 40 blows. Zhao Yufei was graceful. As time passed, the power of her martial arts continued to increase. Until the 80th blow, a sudden change occurred. Butterfly leaf dance. The power of Zhao Yufei's palm technique increased, and her speed and strength reached a new level. Pa! 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 Zhao Yufei's dress fluttered in the wind like a butterfly dancing in the air. Her palm energy and inner strength overlapped each other. After 3 consecutive palm strikes, Zhao Qin was shaken to the point that her blood and qi were in turmoil. She took a few steps back and said in horror, "You actually concealed your strength." It turned out that in the previous confrontation, Zhao Yufei had held back her strength and inner force. Especially since she had practiced a high-rank body strengthening technique, She probably had about 70% of Zhao Feng's metal wall technique. I give up. After a few moves, Zhao Qin's injuries were not light and she simply admitted defeat. The disciples of the Zhao clan looked at Zhao Yufei in a new light. Not only was this girl as beautiful as a goddess, she was also the most beautiful girl in the Zhao family. Her talent and strength were outstanding. Good. Zhao Linlong, who was ranked first, nodded his head in approval. He looked at Zhao Yufei in a daze. Zhao Qi, who was standing next to him, pondered, could it be that Zhao Linlong? As the number one, Zhao Linlong's momentary loss of composure was seen by some people. It looks like even heroes have a weakness for beauties. Some of the elders in the spectator stand smiled brightly. Zhao Yufei's talent is not any weaker than Linlong's. The two are a good match. Zhao Tiansong clapped his hands and laughed. After defeating Zhao Qin, Zhao Yufei was ranked 5th. According to the rules, she could continue to challenge others if she won. However, when Zhao Yufei looked at the top 4, she realized that all of them were much stronger than her, so she gave up. Among them, she saw Zhao Linlong's burning gaze and felt it was strange. In the entire Zhao clan ranking competition, Zhao Linlong was above everyone else. No one was worthy of his attention and he was as cold and calm as usual. Until he noticed Zhao Yufei, the coldness and arrogance in his eyes slowly melted. This was something that he had never experienced in his 17 years of life. That's right, it was the feeling of his heart beating faster. After Zhao Yufei finished her challenge, it was Zhao Han's turn. Zhao Han looked at Zhao Feng, Zhao Qi and Zhao Han and felt helpless. Zhao Linlong had no chance of getting into the top 3. Zhao Feng? He had suffered a lot and knew how terrifying his opponent was. His real strength might be able to challenge Zhao Linlong. As for Zhao Qi, he could only fight to a draw and not shake Zhao Linlong's ranking. I give up. Zhao Han felt helpless and regretful. If he hadn't challenged Zhao Feng first, he would have been in the top 3 and Zhao Qi would have been in 4th place. I give up. Zhao Feng's voice was still the same. I give up too. Zhao Qi was not interested. The competition is over. Zhao Linlong faintly smiled and glanced at Zhao Yufei, who was not far away. He didn't know why, but the more he looked at her, the more he liked her. Zhao Yufei felt his burning gaze and felt a little uncomfortable. She subconsciously avoided his gaze. This year's clan competition is over. The rankings and prizes will be announced later, the judge said. After a while, the ranking of the inner disciples came out first. Zhao Linlong 2nd, Zhao 3rd, Zhao Feng 4th, Zhao Han 5th, Zhao Yufei 6th, Zhao Qin 7th, Zhao Qing. After the competition ended, those who were ranked at the top were secretly looking forward to it. According to the usual practice, the top 20, top 10, and top 3 of the clan martial meet would all receive additional rewards. Now the Patriarch will announce the reward. The referee said. Patriarch. A wave of cheers erupted in the arena. In the spectator stand, a scholarly and dignified middle-aged man stood up. He raised his hands slightly, and a formless pressure spread out. He was the family head Zhao Tiansong. Zhao Feng felt that the Patriarch's aura was close to the high-ranked beasts in the sky cloud forest. He was obviously a martial master above the 7th rank of the martial path. Zhao Tiansong looked down at the 50 inner disciples one by one. Especially when her gaze fell on Zhao Linlong, it was unusually gentle. Many people knew that Zhao Linlong was the adopted son of the Patriarch. Let me announce the reward. Anyone who becomes an inner disciple can enter the Xuanwu Pavilion on the 2nd floor, choose a high-ranked martial art, and be rewarded with a 300-year-old blood ginseng. As for the rewards for inner disciples, it was basically the same as the rumors. The top 20 can choose 2 high-ranked martial arts, and be rewarded with 2 300-year-old blood ginseng. The top 10 can choose 2 high-ranked martial arts, and be rewarded with 1 500-year-old blood ginseng. As he said this, the Patriarch slightly paused. Many of the inner disciples were slightly happy. After all, most of them were still martial disciples, and only a few of them came from wealthy families. Top 3. You can choose 1 peak-ranked martial art, and 2 high-ranked martial arts. Furthermore, you will be rewarded with a blood pill. The Patriarch said with a smile. Peak-ranked martial art. Blood pill. The rewards for the top 3 far exceeded the rewards for the previous Zhao clan disciples. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be overjoyed. Peak-ranked martial arts were exactly what he was looking forward to, and the value of the blood pill exceeded the 500-year-old blood ginseng, which could increase a martial artist's cultivation. Just like this, the clan martial meets rewards were announced. The 50 Zhao clan disciples, under the guidance of the patriarch, went to the warehouse to receive their rewards. On the same day, Zhao Feng received a blood pill. As for the peak-ranked martial arts and the 2 high-ranked martial arts, Zhao Feng received a special badge, which allowed him to go to the martial arts library at any time. I heard that the first place will have a special reward. Why not this year? Maybe it hasn't been announced yet. On the way back, Zhao Feng heard some discussions. He didn't pay attention to them and went home. Brother Zhao Feng. A sweet and gentle voice of a young girl was heard, with a hint of joy in it. Zhao Feng didn't need to turn his head to know that it was Zhao Yufei. After moving into the inner area, the 2 families were neighbors, and they were more familiar with each other. Especially after the metal wall technique trade, the 2 of them had become closer. Yufei, your performance was not bad. Zhao Feng thought of Zhao Yufei defeating Zhao Qin, and he couldn't help but praise. Compared to brother Zhao Feng, the difference is too big. But I'm curious, why didn't you challenge Zhao Linlong? As Zhao Yufei spoke, her clear eyes were filled with curiosity. She was sure that Zhao Feng's metal wall technique had reached the peak of the 4th level, and his defense and physical strength were the best among the inner disciples. Adding on the fact that Zhao Feng's inner force had reached the 5th level, and he had mastered the air crossing and lightly floating fairy, he definitely had the right to challenge Zhao Linlong. Yufei, you overestimated me. There is still a gap between me and Zhao Linlong. Zhao Feng shook his head and said humbly. It was obvious that among all the outer disciples, Zhao Yufei's estimation of his strength was the closest to the truth. The 2 of them were of the same age, and they chatted and laughed. On the other side of the stage, Zhao Linlong, who was wearing a loose golden robe, watched as Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei left. His face darkened, and a hint of sharpness flashed in his eyes. He mumbled to himself, that kid's name is Zhao Feng, right? Chapter 42. As Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei walked back, many of the Zhao clan's disciples looked at them with envy, jealousy and a hint of ambiguity. Zhao Yufei's jade-like face couldn't help but turn slightly red. She snuck a glance at Zhao Feng with her clear eyes and found that he was as calm as usual, and he even seemed to be slightly absent-minded. This made her feel slightly disappointed and defeated. However, among the youths of the same age in the Zhao clan, only Zhao Feng was able to suppress her. This made Zhao Yufei feel helpless. Back home, Zhao Feng told his father, Zhao Tianyang, about what happened in the Sky Cloud Forest. Of course, he left out the part where he was assassinated by Zhao Tianjian, and the danger of encountering a high-tier deadly beast. Even so, Zhao Tianyang's heart trembled when he heard it, and he secretly broke out in a cold sweat. Back in his room, Zhao Feng let out a long breath and mumbled, Zhao Tianjian's assassination failed, so he probably won't let it go so easily. I'll hide my strength and wait for an opportunity. This was also the reason why he didn't challenge Zhao Linlong this time. Zhao Feng sat down cross-legged and merged his consciousness into the dimension of his left eye to search for something else. In the pitch-black dimension, the faint green halo was 5 feet 8-9 inches long. It could be seen that Zhao Feng's cultivation level was at the peak of the 5th rank. Zhao Feng's focus wasn't on this. Show yourself. Zhao Feng focused and subconsciously opened his left eye. Shush! The faint green halo suddenly disappeared and a scene appeared in the pitch-black dimension. In the scene there were 2 figures, one big and one small. One was a high-tier deadly beast, the green-eyed giant wolf. The other was a young girl who didn't look much older than Zhao Yufei. Then a shocking scene appeared in the scene. The green-eyed wolf and the young girl leaped up at almost the same time, and the 2 figures crossed each other at lightning speed. The young girl was graceful, and she seemed to have fused into an unfathomable force of the heavens and the earth, causing her to seem magnificent and natural. Her body glowed with a strange green light, which was 10 times more dazzling than a martial artist's inner strength. Along with her delicate body and the strange posture of her jade-like hands, the green light blended into the natural momentum from before. With a light palm strike, the green light transformed into a sharp whirlwind, exploding with unimaginable power, instantly tearing the head of the green-eyed giant wolf into pieces. The power was beyond the limits of a human's strength. What is the background of that young girl? In the entire Sunfeather City, I'm afraid no one would be able to take this attack from her. Zhao Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. In the pitch-black space, that scene replayed over and over again. Zhao Feng focused his mind. He could observe the details of the young girl's movements from different angles and directions. Gradually, he seemed to understand. The seemingly casual attack of the young girl contained many mysteries that far surpassed the level of a martial artist. As Zhao Feng tried to comprehend it again and again, he already had some gains. At this point, he could basically mimic the moves of the young girl and learn a little bit of it. Even if it was just a little bit of it, the move that Zhao Feng mimicked was comparable to an attack from a high-ranked martial artist. This made him extremely happy. If he could learn the essence of the young girl's move, wouldn't it surpass normal peak-ranked martial arts? Thinking about that, Zhao Feng became even more excited. Why don't I name this move Mysterious Wind Palm? That night, Zhao Feng tried to comprehend that move again and again. Mysterious Wind Palm, similar to Whirlwind Palm, had the meaning of whirlwind palm. Because this palm was extremely profound, Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to comprehend it in a short period of time. Therefore it was named Mysterious Wind Palm. Until late at night, Zhao Feng suddenly felt tired. It turned out that the dimension of his left eye didn't allow him to comprehend without a limit. When he stopped, the light green spiral halo reappeared. Its length remained the same, but it had become much dimmer. Using this method to comprehend will consume my mental energy, Zhao Feng concluded, so he started to practice the air-crossing breathing technique again. After coming back from the competition today, Zhao Feng received a blood pill, which could increase one's cultivation level. Pills were not like rare treasures, they contained a lot of toxins, but they were purer and more suitable to be absorbed. I still have 3,000-year-old herbs. Their value is even higher than the blood pill. Zhao Feng thought for a bit, then swallowed the blood pill. Soon the power of the blood pill started to take effect in his body, creating a flow of energy that was very close to the blood and inner strength of the human body. Zhao Feng immediately started to use the air-crossing breathing technique to absorb the energy of the pill. Because his inner strength had reached the peak of the 5th rank, which was slightly higher than his actual cultivation level, it was very easy for him to absorb the energy of the pill. The next morning, Zhao Feng had basically finished absorbing the energy of the blood pill, and he felt that his body and inner strength had increased again. Closing his eyes, the faint green light in the dimension of his left eye extended to 5 feet 9 inches. Peak of the 5th rank. The effect of this blood pill is not bad. Zhao Feng nodded his head in satisfaction. With the cultivation of the peak of the 5th rank, among the younger generation of the Zhao clan, only Zhao Linlong was on par with him. It was still early, so Zhao Feng was trying out the mysterious wind palm that he had learned last night. Tung! His figure suddenly leaped into the air, and a pale green aura surged on the surface of his body. It rapidly rotated and condensed in the palm of his hand, following a strange trajectory, and slowly chopped. Poochie! A tree branch that was as thick as an arm was instantly shattered into pieces. Zhao Feng's palm wasn't very fierce, and it didn't use brute force to shatter the tree branch. Instead, it contained a rotating and slicing power. Strange indeed. The power of this move is close to high-rank martial arts. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. Just as Zhao Feng was trying his best to learn the mysterious wind palm. Brother Feng, can I come in? A familiar feminine voice could be heard. Zhao Feng paused for a second, then his eyebrows furrowed. Outside of the courtyard, a girl in a white robe bit her lips, not daring to look at Zhao Feng. The person was none other than Zhao Shui. Come in. Zhao Feng's expression returned to normal, and he let Zhao Shui in. The two looked at each other for a while. Zhao Shui wanted to say something but stopped. Her bright eyes avoided his as if she was too shy to speak. What are you doing here? Zhao Feng's face was expressionless. As for Zhao Shui, he only had a good impression of her when he was a kid. Ever since he entered the Zhao clan, the little bit of good impression he had of her had vanished into thin air. Zhao Shui's eyes were wet and red, and she bit her lips. When I entered the Zhao clan, it was all because I was confused. I hope Brother Feng won't hold a grudge for the sake of the past. Looking at Zhao Shui's pitiful appearance, there was a ripple in Zhao Feng's heart, but it was as calm as still water. Why do you say that? Everyone has the right to choose freely. I have never held a grudge against you. Zhao Feng was calm and he smiled with a hint of calmness. Indeed, Zhao Feng did not hold a grudge against Zhao Shui, but he was very disappointed with what she did at that time. I have never held a grudge against you. Zhao Shui's heart trembled, looking at the calm young man, and she couldn't help but sob. Could it be that Brother Feng has never done anything to me? Even in Qingye town? Hearing her words, Zhao Feng was also a little confused. Until now, Zhao Feng was not even 14 years old. Half a year ago, he was only 13 years old. And he was naive and ignorant, so he didn't have much reaction to Zhao Shui's love. Even now, Zhao Feng was only 14 years old, and he was focused on martial arts, so he was slightly slow to react to the feelings between men and women. Looking at Zhao Feng's reaction, Zhao Shui immediately understood, and her heart was completely cold. The truth was out, Zhao Feng had never liked her, and at most, he only had a good impression of her when he was a kid. Brother Zhao Feng. Outside the courtyard came a gentle and sweet voice of a girl. Zhao Yufei smiled as she walked into Zhao Feng's courtyard. The two of them were neighbors and they were quite familiar with each other, so when Zhao Yufei came in, she didn't even knock. Very quickly, her beautiful eyes focused, and she noticed that the atmosphere was not right with Zhao Shui. Zhao Feng and Zhao Shui were both silent. The latter was sobbing softly, her bright eyes were dim. Yufei, what's the matter? Zhao Feng asked curiously, and turned to look at Zhao Yufei. At this time in the small courtyard stood two beautiful girls. Zhao Shui was very beautiful, her skin was clear, and she was slightly charming, her looks had already surpassed most girls. But, compared to Zhao Yufei's elegant and refined, like a lotus flower emerging from the clear water, she suddenly seemed dull. Whether it was her looks, temperament, or even talent, Zhao Shui paled in comparison, like the difference between a village girl and a big family's young lady. Brother Feng, did you not go to the martial arts library to receive your martial arts? In the martial competition you are ranked in the top 3, and you can even choose a top-notch martial art, how enviable. Zhao Yufei was slightly surprised. So, she had just gone to the martial arts library to receive her reward. The top 10 of the inner sect could choose 2 high-grade martial arts. The top 3 of the inner sect could choose 1 top-notch martial art and 2 high-grade martial arts. Hehe. I almost forgot about this. Zhao Feng smiled lightly. Looking at Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei's figures talking and laughing as they left, Zhao Shui felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Her heart was filled with disappointment and regret. She regretted her foolish choice back then. After bidding farewell to Zhao Yufei, Zhao Feng walked quickly. Not long after, Zhao Feng arrived at the martial arts library. The elder guarding the martial arts library, however, had changed. It was a white-bearded old man at first glance. He looked very familiar and amiable. It's you. The white-bearded old man's eyes slightly lit up. Zhao Feng immediately recognized him, and immediately bowed, with a face full of gratitude. Greetings, elder. So this white-bearded old man was the head judge of the clan's martial meet. In the outer sex martial meet and the inner sex overall competition, he had taken care of Zhao Feng. I am Zhao Yusong, you can just call me Uncle Zhao. The white-bearded head judge said with a kind smile. Yes, Uncle Zhao. Zhao Feng's gratitude came from the bottom of his heart. And this Uncle Zhao was also very sincere. Follow me. Zhao Yusong brought Zhao Feng to the second floor, Xuanwu Pavilion. The second floor, Xuanwu Pavilion, there were only 200 to 300 martial arts manuals. Most of them were high-grade martial arts, and a few were top-notch martial arts. Top-notch martial arts, even for a big clan like the Zhao clan, were extremely precious. Zhao Feng's eyes quickly swept through, slightly surprised. Uncle Zhao, why do all the martial arts manuals here only have 1 plate? The second floor, Xuanwu Pavilion. There were no real martial arts manuals, only jade plates, on which were the names of the martial arts, as well as short introductions. Martial arts manuals of high grade and above are extremely precious. I can't put the real one here. I will only take out the real one when you have decided which one to choose. Zhao Yusong explained. Hearing this, Zhao Feng was slightly disappointed. The Zhao clan was extremely strict with high-grade martial arts. It was not realistic for him to steal them like last time. But to be able to choose a top-notch martial art and 2 high-grade martial arts was also very rare for Zhao Feng. He walked around the second floor and looked through all the martial arts manuals' names and short introductions. What, you still haven't chosen a martial art? Zhao Yusong asked curiously. Zhao Feng's eyes turned and he laughed. Uncle Zhao, you are an elder of the martial arts library. You must be very familiar with the martial arts manuals. Can you recommend me one or two of the strongest martial arts that are more suitable for me? You brat. Don't you know that doing this is against the clan's rules? Zhao Yusong's eyes flashed. Although he said so, Zhao Yusong did not slow down his actions. He slowly walked to the second floor, Xuanwu Pavilion's bookshelf, and slowly took out a few jade plates. Chapter 43. Seeing Zhao Yusong's action, Zhao Feng's eyes lit up with joy. The second floor Xuanwu Pavilion was different from the first floor. Here, there were no authentic martial arts manuals, only a corresponding jade token. There were only a few dozen words on the jade badges, which only described the style of the martial arts. It was hard to tell which one was stronger. Zhao Feng couldn't steal hundreds of martial arts like last time and analyze them slowly. As the elder of the martial library, Zhao Yusong must know all the martial arts in the martial library. More importantly, Zhao Yusong had watched all of Zhao Feng's battles, so he knew him very well. Here are 3 top-tier martial arts: Mystifying Wind Fist, Star Finger, and Heaven Strength Kick. They're suitable for you. Zhao Yusong took out 3 jade badges. Are they all offensive martial arts? Zhao Feng was surprised when he heard the names. The offensive martial arts you've practiced are too low, so your potential is limited. In terms of defense, your metal wall technique is on par with top-tier martial arts. It would be perfect if you could find a holy martial art, silver wall technique. Zhao Yusong explained. As expected of a martial Dao master. Zhao Feng agreed. Zhao Yusong felt that his defense was enough, so he chose all the offensive martial arts for him. These 3 top-grade martial arts are all extraordinary. Mystic Wind Fist is particular about its concept, and its style is unique. It uses ingenuity to break through brute force, and when combined with a brilliant body movement technique, its power will increase by leaps and bounds. Star Finger can gather chi and bring out the full power of finger techniques. Its single target attacks are outstanding. Tiangang Kick is suitable for people who have good lightness body techniques. The might of this kick technique is powerful, and it can generate strong winds to form an area of effect attack. It's very useful when fighting against a crowd. Zhao Yusong briefly introduced the 3 top-notch martial arts to him. Zhao Feng was tempted to learn any of them. If he were to cultivate any of these 3 top-notch martial arts, he would be able to unleash great power. Uncle Zhao, may I ask which of these 3 martial arts is the strongest? Zhao Feng asked. There were high and low cultivation techniques, but there was always one that was the most powerful and brilliant. Among the 3 martial arts, Star Finger is the most powerful. In terms of single target attack, it's even stronger than the spatial cloud finger that Zhao Linlong cultivates. Its power is even close to a saint-grade martial art. However, this martial art is extremely difficult to cultivate, and there is a certain degree of danger. Zhao Yusong smiled. Then I'll choose it. Zhao Feng did not hesitate at all. During the martial meet, he had seen Zhao Linlong display the shuttle cloud finger, which was extremely powerful. On the other hand, Star Finger was stronger than Spatial Cloud Finger in terms of single target power. After confirming the secret manual, Zhao Yusong went to the martial arts library and retrieved the original copy of Star Finger. Zhao Feng's heart was filled with excitement as he held the ancient and yellowed manual. Soon, the contents of Star Finger were absorbed into Zhao Feng's mind. Star Finger was split into 6 levels, and the lowest requirement was the 4th rank of the martial path. This finger skill focused on breaking through the surface with a single point. By condensing the inner strength to the extreme, one could pierce through a 2-inch thick steel plate, not to mention flesh and blood. Even some defensive martial arts would be powerless against such a finger skill. Moreover, this finger technique itself was profound, unconventional, and pursued extreme power. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. Zhao Feng cheered in satisfaction. Star Finger has another advantage. Even if you haven't reached the 7th rank of the martial path, as long as you reach the 4th level, you will be able to pierce through metal. Zhao Yusong was full of praises for this martial art. Piercing through air? Zhao Feng was shocked when he heard this. Everyone knew that only when one reached the 7th rank of the martial path would they be able to kill through the air. He didn't need to get close to the enemy to be able to kill them. Just how domineering was this? This was the difference between a martial artist and a martial master. As for Starfinger, if one reached the 4th level, one could condense the inner strength of one's finger before reaching the 7th rank of the martial path. This finger skill's difficulty is 2 to 3 times that of a normal martial art. Some people even speculate that it was originally a half-holy martial art. Years ago I tried to learn it, but I couldn't reach the 4th level for a long time, so I gave up and changed to other martial arts. Zhao Yusong had a complicated expression as he spoke, and when he looked at Zhao Feng, there was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Why does Uncle Zhao trust me? Zhao Feng was confused. That's because your comprehension of martial arts is very high. You've trained your basic fist techniques and intermediate martial arts to perfection. You've even broken the record of lightly floating fairy, a high-level martial art, to such a high level. Zhao Yusong's face was full of joy. Zhao Feng suddenly understood that Uncle Zhao was interested in his comprehension, so he might be able to master Starfinger. Also, let me remind you. Zhao Yusong's expression suddenly became serious. Please speak, Uncle Zhao. Zhao Yusong's eyes suddenly sharpened. Only by mastering Starfinger will you stand a chance against Zhao Linlong. And you won't be able to win. Why was that? Zhao Feng was confused. Wasn't his Starfinger better than Zhao Linlong's shuttle cloud finger? That's because, Zhao Yusong said meaningfully, Zhao Linlong won first place, and he is also the head's godson. Not only was he rewarded with 1,000-year-old blood ginseng, but he was also allowed to go to the 3rd floor of the martial library. This broke the family's record. The 3rd floor of the martial library? The legendary 3rd floor of the martial library? Waves crashed in Zhao Feng's heart. Everyone knew that the Xuanwu Pavilion on the 2nd floor stored high-level martial arts and a few top-level martial arts. As for the martial library, it was only a rumor. Zhao Linlong received the 1,000-year-old blood ginseng, which is also an elder's treatment. In the next few months, he has a high chance of breaking through to the 6th rank of the martial path and becoming the head of the 4 great geniuses of Sunfeather City. The higher-ups of the family are determined to make him one of the strongest. Zhao Yusong sighed as he said this. He felt that it was unfair for Zhao Feng. After all, the potential that Zhao Feng had shown might even surpass Zhao Linlong. Unfortunately, he was just a branch family disciple, while Zhao Linlong was the godson of the head of the family. Even if Zhao Feng won against Zhao Linlong, it would be hard for him to get the same treatment. Uncle Zhao, what is on the 3rd floor of the martial library? Could it be the legendary Holy Rank martial arts? Zhao Feng's breathing quickened. Holy Rank martial arts were super-ranked martial arts. They could surpass the 9 ranks of the martial path and reach the legendary Holy Martial Path. Haha, how could there be a complete Holy Rank martial art in a small city like Sunfeather City? Zhao Yusong shook his head and said, however, Zhao Linlong did have the chance to comprehend some of the Holy Rank martial arts in the 4th floor of the martial library. Zhao Feng let out a sigh of relief when he heard this. After a while, Zhao Feng returned Starfinger to Zhao Yusong. You're not copying it? Zhao Yusong asked curiously. I'll remember it. Zhao Feng did not plan to hide it. The gift of retentive memory was not unheard of on the continent. Zhao Yusong was a little surprised, but the joy in his eyes grew. It seemed that Zhao Feng was indeed a martial arts genius. After confirming the top-ranked martial arts, Zhao Feng could still choose 2 high-ranked martial arts. Zhao Yusong recommended a footwork technique called light micro steps to him. This martial art is said to be related to lightly floating fairy. It is one of the best among the high-ranked movement skills and is even close to the top. Zhao Yusong explained. One was a top-ranked finger skill and the other was a movement skill. Zhao Feng could still choose the last high-ranked martial art. This time he chose a supplementary inner force mental cultivation method. Withered tree breathing technique. Deadwood breathing technique was similar to the chi concealing technique. It could be used to cultivate inner force and hide one's aura. According to the description, if one mastered Deadwood breathing technique, he could enter a fake death state to hide from his enemies. You have good taste. Every martial art is powerful. Zhao Yusong smiled. After choosing his martial arts, Zhao Feng thanked Uncle Zhao and left. Thump. Thump! Thump! At this moment, footsteps could be heard from the stairs of the martial library. A total of 3 people stepped onto the second floor. There was a white-robed elder, a scholarly middle-aged man, and a young man in a golden robe. The last person was Zhao Linlong. Zhao Feng was shocked, and immediately bowed to the 2 in front of him. "Greetings, Patriarch, Elder." Finally, he looked at the young man in the golden robe and smiled. "Brother Linlong." The Patriarch and the white-robed elder saw Zhao Feng and nodded. Zhao Linlong, on the other hand, only glanced at him before following behind the sect leader and the elders without saying a word. Such a display made Zhao Feng feel somewhat awkward and unhappy. No matter what, Zhao Feng was the third-ranked genius of the inner sect. Even if Zhao Linlong was first, he could not be ignored like this. The Patriarch and the previous martial library elder are here. Could it be? Zhao Feng secretly guessed. If it was just to enter the second floor, Xuanwu Pavilion, there was no need for the Patriarch and another elder to come. Unless it was to open the third floor of the martial library, one elder was not enough, and several elders were needed to open it together. Just as expected, Zhao Feng saw the Patriarch and the 2 elders send Zhao Linlong to the third floor of the martial library. Looks like Uncle Zhao was right. Zhao Feng was a little unhappy, but he quickly calmed down, especially when he thought of the dimension in his left eye. Leaving the martial library, Zhao Feng went straight home. Inside his room he closed his eyes, and in his mind Starfinger, light microsteps, and deadwood breathing technique appeared. The new martial technique was of an even higher grade. It would gradually replace the angry dragon fist, chi concealing art, and other martial techniques. Zhao Feng first tried light microsteps, and found that this movement skill was similar to lightly floating fairy. Half an hour later, he had started to understand light microsteps. He started to practice it in the morning and afternoon, and successfully got started. At night, Zhao Feng was pleasantly surprised to find that with air-crossing breathing technique, he could use light microsteps with half the effort. If the air-crossing mantra was added, the light microsteps would at least be a top-notch movement technique. This discovery almost made Zhao Feng dizzy with joy. In the following days, he started to focus on practicing a few martial arts. Among them, light microsteps and deadwood breathing technique were both high-level martial arts, and Zhao Feng learned them very easily. This was not only because of his left eye, but also because of lightly floating fairy and hiding air technique. In just 10 days, Zhao Feng had reached the high level of mastery in these 2 high-ranked martial arts. Next, his focus was on Star Finger. This finger skill was of the highest level, and also the hardest to practice. Even Zhao Yusong did not succeed. Chapter 44. Closing his eyes, Zhao Feng started to comprehend the moves of Star Finger in his mind. After a few hours, Zhao Feng understood that it was much more difficult than the high-ranked martial arts that he had learnt before. In terms of difficulty, lightly floating fairy was the only martial art he had learnt that could be compared to it. But Starfinger was not only difficult, it also had a certain level of danger. It required a specific method to circulate inner strength and condense it to the extreme. If there was even the slightest mistake, one could be crippled. This level of danger increased the difficulty of training. Luckily, Zhao Feng had a powerful left eye. Every time he activated the ability of his left eye, he would be able to focus his mind. His reaction, comprehension, and analysis were all extraordinary, making it hard for him to make any mistakes. Imperceptibly, the danger of Starfinger was reduced to the minimum by Zhao Feng. After 2 days, Zhao Feng had barely grasped the first level of Starfinger. The first level of Starfinger was to unleash the power of the finger technique and condense all the power into a single line, creating a powerful piercing force. After mastering the first level, Zhao Feng did not need to use inner strength. He could easily pierce through a stone tablet with just a finger. Next, he continued to learn the second level of Starfinger. The second level was much more difficult than the first. It required him to condense all the power in his body into a single point, creating an explosive effect. Just the second level alone took Zhao Feng 6 to 7 days. But the results were obvious. The power of the second level of Starfinger was already slightly higher than the power of a high-ranked martial art. This meant that the second level of Zhao Feng's Starfinger could make him look down on all the disciples of the Zhao clan. Only Zhao Linlong could beat him. After breaking through the second level, the speed of training became slower and more difficult. Half a month later, Zhao Feng put all his effort into comprehending and training, but he barely managed to reach the peak of the second level. Zhao Feng finally reached a bottleneck when he wanted to break through to the third level. This finger technique is indeed difficult. I wonder what will happen when I break through to the fourth level. Zhao Feng's anticipation grew. As long as he broke through the fourth level of Star Finger, he would be able to condense his finger force through the air and injure people. It was almost comparable to the advantage of a martial Dao master. Back then, Zhao Yusong had also cultivated this finger technique, and it took him at least a year or two to break through to the second level. On the other hand, Zhao Feng only used 20 days to reach the peak of the second level. This is still not the most difficult part. The move that the young and inexperienced girl used in the Blood Python Canyon back then was even more profound. Zhao Feng remembered the mysterious wind palm in the dimension of his left eye. Of course, Zhao Feng would not bite off more than he could chew. He would take it one step at a time. Cultivation techniques and martial arts were also progressing step by step. It was impossible to reach the heavens in a single step. Now that he had made some progress in his martial arts, Zhao Feng focused his attention on his cultivation and inner strength. Inside the blood python's cave, Zhao Feng's body had absorbed an enormous amount of energy from the blood spring, as well as the medicinal strength of the precious materials. At that time, the medicinal strength had not been completely absorbed, and there was still a portion left in his body. After returning, Zhao Feng continued to cultivate his martial arts and inner strength to further absorb the medicinal strength. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. Zhao Feng had completely absorbed the remaining medicinal strength in his body. His current cultivation had reached the peak of the 5th rank, and he was only half a step away from the 6th rank of the martial path. As for inner strength, it had even exceeded the limit of the 5th rank, and it was comparable to a cultivator of the 6th rank of the martial path. Now, if Zhao Feng wanted to break through to the 6th rank of the martial path, there was no bottleneck to speak of. He didn't even need the help of the 3,000-year-old medicinal herbs. In a few more days, I will be able to break through to the 6th rank of the martial path. Zhao Feng had a strong instinct when it came to the changes in his body. In fact, most cultivators would have a similar feeling when they were about to break through to the 6th rank. Thus, he decided to stop cultivating and let his body relax. Coincidentally, his neighbor Zhao Yufei came over to spar with Zhao Feng. 1.5 months had passed since the family's martial arts gathering, and Zhao Yufei's cultivation had reached the peak of the 4th rank, and it looked like she was about to break through to the 5th rank. "Brother Zhao Feng, I want to see your neo-martial arts." Zhao Yufei smiled mischievously, and her face was slightly red. She wore a light green dress and she looked like a fairy. Okay. Zhao Feng nodded in agreement, and was about to try out the new martial arts he had learned. In the courtyard, two figures crossed each other. First it was the footwork. Zhao Feng used lightly micro steps, and his figure and footwork became blurry, elegant and unfathomable. When lightly micro steps was used to the limit, there seemed to be a few afterimages of Zhao Feng superimposed on each other. Speed was originally Zhao Yufei's forte, but in front of Zhao Feng, she was completely suppressed. Both of them trained in high-level footwork, and although their levels were not that different, there was a clear difference in power. Zhao Yufei was confused, because during the spar, Zhao Feng's cultivation was even lower than hers. Even in terms of inner strength, the two of them cultivated the air-crossing mantra. Yufei's body quality is not as good as mine, and I have the foundation of lightly floating fairy, so I have the advantage in footwork. Zhao Feng explained half-truthfully. The real reason was that lightly micro-steps and lightly floating fairy were related, and Zhao Feng used the matching training method to raise this set of footwork to the level of a top-level martial art. Secondly, it was offensive martial arts. Zhao Feng controlled the power of Star Finger to be close to the second level, and when he pointed his finger, a needle and thread condensed energy burst out, and its penetrative power was shocking. In the end, Zhao Yufei only took one hit, and she was almost injured, unable to block it directly. Brother Zhao Feng's finger technique. I'm afraid it is a top-level martial art? Zhao Yufei was slightly surprised, and showed a look of envy. Top-level martial arts were extremely rare, and among the entire Zhao clan, only Zhao Linlong, Zhao Qi, and Zhao Feng had trained in it. That's right, it is a top-level martial art. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. He was very satisfied with Starfinger's power. Just as the two of them were sparring and discussing, Sister Yufei, I came to spar with you but you weren't at home. So you were here? A man's laughter could be heard, and there was a sense of carefreeness in it. On the wall, a young man wearing a golden robe stood. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he looked calm as he looked at Zhao Yufei. Zhao Linlong. Zhao Feng slightly furrowed his eyebrows. This was his home, and at this moment, without the owner's permission, Zhao Linlong was standing on the wall. Brother Linlong. Zhao Yufei smiled faintly and maintained her manners. After all, the person who came was the number one disciple of the clan, and he was also the adopted son of the clan. Brother Linlong, are you here to spar with me again? Zhao Yufei was expressionless. Recently, Zhao Linlong had been looking for her from time to time. Sometimes it was to spar and sometimes it was to discuss martial arts. Every time they met, Zhao Yufei could feel the passion and love in Zhao Linlong's eyes, and it made her feel uncomfortable. That's right, I believe that Sister Yufei won't reject me. Zhao Linlong's words were filled with confidence. He didn't step into the courtyard and only stood on the wall. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even look at his owner, Zhao Feng. Thank you for your kindness, but Brother Zhao Feng just sparred with me. Zhao Yufei tactfully rejected him with a smile. To be able to spar with the number one genius of the Zhao clan, any girl from the Zhao clan would find it hard to refuse, and it was even a dream. But for some reason, Zhao Yufei had an indescribable conflict with Zhao Linlong. Zhao Linlong had a sense of arrogance and superiority, as if it was the other party's honor to be chosen by him. On the contrary, Zhao Feng was from the same branch clan as her, and they sparred with each other naturally and naturally. They had a common language and there was no pressure. Zhao Linlong finally realized the existence of his owner Zhao Feng. Glancing at Zhao Feng, Zhao Linlong smiled but didn't say anything. Obviously he didn't want to comment, but he also didn't want to explain. Then forget it. Today, I'm looking for Sister Yufei for another matter. Zhao Linlong shrugged and changed the topic. Brother Linlong, please speak. About this matter. I want to talk to Yufei alone. As Zhao Linlong finished speaking, he glanced at Zhao Feng, intentionally or unintentionally. Brother Zhao Feng, I'll leave first. Zhao Yufei was slightly apologetic as she greeted Zhao Feng. Then the two left together, leaving Zhao Feng in the courtyard. Could it be that Zhao Linlong is chasing after Yufei? Zhao Feng finally realized something. On the other side, Zhao Linlong brought Zhao Yufei to a secluded area. Yufei, in half a month, Sunfeather City's annual Genius Summit will begin. The host is the number one beauty of Sunfeather City, Qiu Mengyu. At that time, all the geniuses of Sunfeather City will be invited to participate. As Zhao Linlong said this, he paused. Genius Summit. Number one beauty of Sunfeather City? Zhao Yufei's eyes flashed with surprise and expectation. Zhao Yufei had heard a little about the Genius Summit. It was a gathering for the young geniuses of Sunfeather City to learn from each other. The so-called four geniuses of Sunfeather City were decided through the Genius Summit. This is a gathering for the younger generation of Sunfeather City. As the number one disciple of the Zhao clan, I have the right to recommend 5 people. A smile appeared on Zhao Linlong's face. Oh, Genius Summit? Number one beauty of Sunfeather City? Yufei really wants to see it. Zhao Yufei blinked her beautiful eyes. She was very interested. Oh right, who are the people you recommend? Zhao Yufei asked. There's Zhao Qi, Zhao Han, Zhao Qin, and Zhao Ling. Zhao Linlong didn't hide anything. Wait, why isn't Brother Zhao Feng here? He was ranked 3rd at the clan meeting. Zhao Yufei suddenly interrupted. Zhao Feng? Zhao Linlong said. He's just a side branch disciple. That day at the tournament he didn't even have the courage to challenge me. This kind of person is dispensable at the Genius Summit. Brother Zhao Feng's strength is there. Zhao Yufei couldn't bear to hear this. Haha, don't worry. I have a feeling that in a few days, I'll be able to reach the 6th rank of the martial path and become the number one genius. Therefore it doesn't matter who I choose. What's important is that I have you with me to witness that glorious moment. At the end of his speech, Zhao Linlong's eyes lit up. He couldn't help but put his hand on Zhao Yufei's shoulder. Zhao Linlong, please behave yourself. Zhao Yufei's face turned cold as she pushed Zhao Linlong's hand away. I never force anyone, but you have to believe me. No one in the same generation will dare to interfere with the woman I, Zhao Linlong, like, unless you want to be alone for the rest of your life. Chapter 45. Within the courtyard. Watching Zhao Yufei and Zhao Linlong leave together, Zhao Feng's heart was slightly moved, but he quickly returned to normal. He wanted to reach the peak of the martial path and explore the outside world. A small city like Sunfeather City couldn't stop him. Zhao Feng focused on training from finger skills to footwork skills, then from inner force skills to body strengthening skills. It could be said that he was training both inside and outside the body. He didn't know that in Sunfeather City, there were many geniuses who had received invitations to the Genius Summit. The invitation from the prettiest beauty of the Sunfeather City caused many young geniuses to rush to the Genius Summit. They rubbed their palms together, preparing to show off their skills at the summit in half a month. That night, the Zhao family, Zhao Qi, Zhao Han, Zhao Qin, Zhao Ling, all received invitations. Not every junior could get an invitation to the summit. Apparently, those who were invited to the Genius Summit had to be at least of the 4th rank of the martial path. Zhao Feng didn't know anything about this. Zhao Yufei, who lived next door, didn't know whether she should tell him the news or not. The 3rd day after the invitations were sent out, Zhao Feng sat in his room with his eyes closed. An uncontrollable aura of inner strength rose from his body. A formless gust of wind appeared out of nowhere. The bed and quilt in the room made a rustling sound, and dust flew everywhere. Clank! Zhao Feng's inner strength shook and a gust of wind blew the window open, then quickly closed it again. Suddenly, the youth opened his eyes and 2 streaks of lightning seemed to flash across the room. Soon after, a layer of pale green luster appeared on the surface of his pupils, which were crystal clear. My inner strength is comparable to the 6th rank of the martial path. Joy flashed in Zhao Feng's eyes. He immediately circulated his high-ranked martial art, deadwood breathing art, and retracted his aura. His inner strength, which was comparable to the 6th rank of the martial path, quickly retracted and weakened to the 5th rank of the martial path. The main reason why his inner strength could break through to the 6th stage so quickly was because of the encounter in the Blood Python's cave. Even Iron Wall technique, which was progressing slowly, had reached the peak of the 4th realm and was about to reach the 5th realm. Once the Metal Wall scripture reached the 5th level, not only would the cultivator have a strong defense, but the metal wall body would also be able to break blades. In other words, if Zhao Feng broke through to the 5th stage, if an opponent with lower strength attacked him, not only would they not be able to hurt him, they might even be injured. At this moment, Zhao Feng's metal wall technique was very close to the 5th level, as if he was about to break through to the 6th level. In another 2 days, my cultivation and iron wall technique might reach a breakthrough at the same time. Zhao Feng was secretly looking forward to it. Martial Path Grade 6 or Metal Wall Technique Grade 5. If he could achieve any one of them, Zhao Feng was confident that he could look down on the younger generations of the Zhao clan, let alone 2. On the same day, in a quaint and elegant courtyard in the inner layer of the Zhao clan, 6th rank of the martial path. It's faster than I thought. Zhao Linlong, who was wearing a golden robe, slowly stood up as a powerful martial path inner force surrounded his body. An invisible wave of air rushed out with him as the center, tearing the leaves and trees around him into pieces. Not bad, reaching the 6th rank of the martial path before the age of 18. This has broken the record of the Sunfeather City. The head of the family, Zhao Tiansong, smiled warmly as his eyes were filled with love and admiration. If it wasn't for the 1,000-year-old blood ginseng and the inner force meridian opening technique, Linlong wouldn't have been able to reach the 6th rank so quickly. Zhao Linlong said humbly. Although he had reached the 6th rank of the martial path, he was still insignificant in front of his godfather. There was a huge gap between the 6th and 7th rank of the martial path, just like the gap between a martial disciple and a martial artist. Less than 1 in 10 people became a martial disciple and a martial artist. And for a martial artist to be promoted to a martial Dao master, it was 1 in 100. From now on, you need to focus on your cultivation. I heard that you are going to attend the Genius Summit. You have to make the Zhao clan proud. Zhao Tiansong said with a smile. Don't worry, father, apart from Xi and Wuheng, I don't care about anyone else. I heard that Xi and Wuheng's cultivation is only at the peak of the 5th rank, so I have a 60% chance of beating him. Zhao Linlong's voice was filled with confidence. Time passed quickly. The Genius Summit went by day. On the eve of the Genius Summit, Sun Feather City was extremely lively. In order to witness this event, many people traveled thousands of miles to Sun Feather City. Some people just wanted to see the face of the most beautiful girl in Sun Feather City. During this time, the news of Zhao Linlong reaching the 6th rank of the martial path had spread throughout Sun Feather City, shocking many of the younger generation and causing waves in the 3 families. The 6th rank of the martial path. This was an unattainable dream for the younger generation, a youth before the age of 18. In the entire Sun Feather City, there was no one else that could be compared to Zhao Linlong. However, what no one knew was that in the Zhao family, Zhao Linlong wasn't the only one who had reached the 6th rank of the martial path. In the inner part of the Zhao clan, in a large courtyard, a youth's footsteps were blurry. His afterimages overlapped again and again as he scuttled about. Sometimes he would leap up and leap through the air. Tongue. Zhao Feng's figure was like a falling leaf as he landed on the ground. If one looked closely, they would find that Zhao Feng's figure was even taller. He was only 14 years old, but he was taller than most adults. His skin and muscles were as tough as bronze, and they were filled with explosive power. 7 days ago, Zhao Feng had reached the 6th rank of the martial path, and his metal wall technique had also reached the 5th level. At that time, he was confident that no one in the younger generation of Sun Feather City would be his match. A few days ago, he had been trying to comprehend Star Finger and Light Micro Steps. Lightly Micro Step was a high-ranked movement skill, and it was slowly reaching its peak. Right now, Zhao Feng's focus was on Star Finger. In the past few days, he had finally made a breakthrough in Star Finger, and the power of his finger skill had increased once again, barely reaching the 3rd level. Whoosh! Zhao Feng's index finger drew a line in the air, and it was accompanied by a sharp whistling sound. Ha! Zhao Feng's inner strength condensed at the tip of his finger, causing the air around him to tremble and explode. Whoosh! In the darkness of the night, a star suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and it was as if it was a star in the night sky. This move was the signature move of Star Finger, One Finger of Star. The power of One Finger of Star had reached a terrifying level. Once it was successfully used, it would be invincible against those of the same rank, and it could even counter defensive body strengthening skills. Zhao Feng was confident that not many people under the 7th rank of the martial path could block this move. However, One Finger of Star had an obvious weakness. First, the success rate. At the 3rd level of Star Finger, the success rate of using One Finger of Star was only 20 to 30%. Second, the danger. If it failed, it could injure the blood vessels and meridians, especially the fingers, which could easily break. This showed how dangerous this move was. In the past, Zhao Yusong's Star Finger had stopped at the 3rd level. If I open my left eye, the success rate of using One Finger of Star will increase to 40 to 50%, and if I fail, the chance of injuring my fingers will be reduced to less than 10%. Zhao Feng analyzed in his heart. Of course, as his martial arts level increased, the success rate of using One Finger of Star would also increase. At the peak of the 3rd level, most people would have a success rate of 40 to 50%. At the 4th level, the success rate would be 70 to 80%. At the 5th level, the success rate would be 100%. As for above the 6th level, the success rate would not be limited to just using One Finger of Star. At that level, the finger skill would be as dazzling as the stars, and if it wasn't a holy martial art, it would be invincible. Zhao Feng didn't dare to hope for that level, as it was still far away from him. What he was looking forward to the most was the 4th level of Star Finger. Once he reached the 4th level, he would be able to use the sky-piercing finger to kill his enemies. Young Master Zhao Feng, you've received an invitation. A servant came in and said respectfully. Zhao Feng was a bit confused, but he took the green invitation with the words, Genius Summit, written on it. Genius Summit? Zhao Feng didn't know what was going on. He didn't know anything about this strange summit. There were some small words at the bottom of the invitation. Host. Qiumingyu. Zhao Feng felt that the name was familiar. Who's Qiumingyu? Zhao Feng asked. Young Master Xiaofeng, Qiu Mengyu is the most beautiful girl in Sunfeather City, and also one of the 4 great geniuses, the servant said with a weird expression. Qiu Mengyu, the most beautiful girl in Sunfeather City. How could there be someone who didn't know her? Shush! As soon as the servant left, a faint purple figure entered the courtyard. Brother Xiaofeng, did you get an invitation to the Genius Summit? Zhao Yufei smiled, the dimples on her cheeks were as attractive as a pear. Genius Summit, what is it? Xiaofeng didn't know what was going on. You don't even know about the Genius Summit? Zhao Yufei's mouth was wide open, her face was full of disbelief. In her heart she was ashamed and angry. She had gone to the Qiu family with great difficulty to help him get an invitation letter. She didn't even know what the Genius Summit was. Sister Yufei, what is the Genius Summit? Xiaofeng couldn't help but ask. He didn't know the details of the invitation. Originally, Zhao Linlong had 5 recommendations for the Genius Summit, but Xiaofeng wasn't the only one. Zhao Yufei didn't tell Xiaofeng about this, but in the end, she disregarded her status and went to the Qiu family to get an invitation for Xiaofeng. If you don't know, then forget it. Zhao Yufei snorted and left Xiaofeng's courtyard. Xiaofeng felt strange. He felt that Zhao Yufei was a bit angry. Ever since the two moved into the inner area, they have been living together. This was the first time. Genius Summit? Let's go have a look. I wonder what the #1 beauty of Sunfeather City looks like. Could she be prettier than Zhao Yufei? Xiaofeng finally became interested. He opened the invitation. The time and place of the summit was written on it. Not good. Xiaofeng's expression changed dramatically. The time stated on the invitation was 10 o'clock in the evening. The sun had already set, less than half an hour ago. Hey, Yufei, wait! Xiaofeng softly called out, and then he leaped into the air in pursuit. Chapter 46. With Xiaofeng's lightly floating fairy speed, he soon caught up to the girl in purple. Zhao Yufei's face tightened as if she was still angry. Xiaofeng was confused and asked again, but Zhao Yufei didn't reply. She continued to walk, but her clear eyes occasionally glanced at the helpless youth next to her. Her expression softened, but she didn't purposely keep her distance. Xiaofeng felt that the girl wasn't really angry, so he asked about the Genius Summit. The Genius Summit is a gathering of the youths of Sunfeather City. Most of the people invited are not just from the 3 big families, but also from other forces. Zhao Yufei briefly explained the situation of the Genius Summit. The goal of the Genius Summit was to choose a few geniuses through friendly sparring. Soon the two arrived at the gate of the Zhao clan. At the gate of the Zhao clan stood a few figures, including Zhao Linlong, Zhao Qi, and Zhao Han. Sister Yufei, you're the only one left. Zhao Linlong revealed a faint smile as his aura became deep and deep, giving off a pressure that surpassed normal cultivators. The aura of the 6th rank of the martial path made many of the disciples of the Zhao clan fear him. Xiaofeng and Zhao Yufei walked over and met up with the other geniuses. Apart from the top 5, there was also Zhao Qin and Zhao Ling. Why are you here? Zhao Linlong saw Xiaofeng and his eyebrows slightly furrowed. What? Brother Linlong doesn't welcome me? Xiaofeng was shocked. Why couldn't he come? As one of the top 3 in the Zhao clan, it should be normal for him to attend the Genius Summit. Zhao Linlong smiled as the mockery in his eyes disappeared and he ignored Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng, on the other hand, felt like he was being ignored again. The members of the Zhao clan, including Zhao Qi and Zhao Qin, had a rough idea of the reason. Zhao Linlong didn't leave a few spots for Xiaofeng. According to the rules, Xiaofeng was not invited and could not enter the summit. If Zhao Linlong doesn't want to explain, it's obvious that he wants to embarrass Xiaofeng. Zhao Qi and Zhao Han couldn't help but reveal pity in their eyes. Xiaofeng felt that the atmosphere was strange. These people were looking at him with strange gazes. Alright, let's go. Zhao Linlong gave the order. The summit will be held at the Smoky Wave Lake near the Qiu clan. We'll arrive soon. Zhao Yufei glanced at Xiaofeng from time to time, as if she was afraid that he would get lost. After a while, a small lake appeared in front of him, about 10 acres in size. At the side of the lake, there was a mountain that was more than 1,000 meters tall. It had rocky cliffs and lush greenery. Strangely enough, The lake surrounded half of the mountain. The summit was held at the peak of the Smoky Wave Lake. The group used their movement techniques and floated up the mountain. Bow, bow, bow. Occasionally, one or two youths would appear and they would step on the surface of the lake and fly to the top of the mountain. On the top of the mountain, the figures of the Cho clan could be seen. This was because the host of the summit, Cho Mangyu, was from the Cho clan, one of the three great clans. Please show your invitation. At the entrance of the summit, 7 or 8 youths of the Cho clan stood together. These cultivators were not youths, but the younger generation of the Cho clan. They were around 20 to 30 years old, and their cultivation was at least of the 5th rank of the martial path. The youths that entered the summit took out their invitation and verified it one by one. The few from the Zhao clan, led by Zhao Linlong, passed through the entrance first. Then Zhao Qi, Zhao Han. Finally it was Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei's turn. At this moment, Zhao Linlong's lips curled into a smile as he glanced at Zhao Feng. This is my invitation letter. Zhao Feng took out his invitation. And that's right. The young cultivator nodded his head and let Zhao Feng in. This scene caused the smile on Zhao Linlong's face to freeze. Zhao Qi and Zhao Han were also shocked. What's going on? Why does Zhao Feng have an invitation? The reactions of the few fell into Zhao Feng's eyes. He couldn't help but think as he looked at Zhao Yufei. Zhao Yufei's eyes turned and avoided his gaze. She seemed to be a little guilty as she handed over her invitation. The 7 of them successfully entered the summit. Zhao Feng was still confused and asked Zhao Yufei. He felt that there was something unusual about his invitation. Zhao Yufei smiled. If you want to know the answer, you'll have to become the top genius of this year's summit. Zhao Feng shook his head and didn't think about it anymore. When this happened to Zhao Linlong, his eyebrows furrowed and his eyes turned cold as he glanced at Zhao Feng with a hint of warning. Zhao Feng also felt the hostility and the warning, but he didn't take it to heart. With his current strength, he wasn't afraid of Zhao Linlong at all. The few from the Zhao clan were quickly arranged to a pavilion and maids served them snacks and tea. The pavilion where the Zhao clan was at was closest to the center of the summit. There were 3 pavilions closest to the center of the summit, representing the Zhao, Qiu, and Xian families. Zhao Feng saw the disciples of the Xian family in the pavilion on the left, including Xian Fei and Xian Tong. Among them, Xian Fei improved the fastest and his cultivation was close to the 5th rank of the martial path, while Xian Tong broke through to the 5th rank. Of course, compared to Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei, there was still a gap. On the surface, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei's cultivation had reached at least the 5th rank of the martial path, and they were the youngest. The strongest genius of the Xian family is called Xian Wuheng, and he's the head of the 4 geniuses. The other geniuses couldn't even last 10 moves against him in the last summit. Zhao Qin said in a low voice. Following her direction, Zhao Feng and the others' gazes landed on an ordinary youth in an azure robe. The youth in the azure robe was 16 or 17 years old, and had an ordinary appearance. His eyes were closed as if he didn't care about anything. He was Xian Wuheng, and his cultivation seemed to be at the peak of the 5th rank of the martial path. Facing Xian Wuheng, even the prideful Zhao Linlong had a solemn expression. When Zhao Feng's left eye saw Xian Wuheng, his eyes flashed and he couldn't help but take a deep breath. This person isn't simple. Facing Zhao Linlong, Zhao Feng didn't feel any pressure. But looking at this person, he had to take him seriously. Zhao Feng's left eye could see things that others couldn't. As if he had sensed something, Xian Wuheng suddenly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, Zhao Feng saw a pair of eyes that were as deep as a lake. It was like the finishing touch, which made the ordinary face look extraordinary. Xian Wuheng. Zhao Linlong spat out these 3 words, and his eyes were filled with battle intent. However, something unexpected happened. Xian Wuheng didn't look at the number 1 genius of the Zhao clan. His gaze actually landed on Zhao Feng. Not bad. I've finally met an opponent that I'm interested in. Xian Wuheng slightly nodded his head. Finishing, he once again closed his eyes, not looking at Zhao Linlong and the others. What? The coldness in Zhao Linlong's eyes spread, and he took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in his heart. In the entire Sunfeather City, no one from the 3 families dared to look down on him like this. But this person was Xian Wuheng, so he couldn't do anything. Because at the last summit, Xi and Wu Heng had defeated him in 10 moves. Who is this guy? To be able to attract Xi and Wu Heng's attention? Many people were shocked, and they all looked towards Zhao Feng. These people included Xian Fei and Xian Tong, who he had fought before. Amongst them, Xian Fei's eyes were filled with battle intent, and Xian Tong also had an expectant look on his face. This kid's improvement is godly. His cultivation has also reached the 5th rank. Xian Wu Heng's attention on Zhao Feng made Zhao Linlong unhappy. Looking at Xian Wu Heng's attitude, it was obvious that he valued Zhao Feng more, as if he didn't put the number 1 genius of the Zhao clan in his eyes. Xian Wu Heng. It won't be long before you find out who your real opponent is. Zhao Linlong sneered in his mind. As the night fell, more and more people arrived at the summit. There were many pavilions on the summit, and they were all for the geniuses that had been invited, or some elders and VIPs. There were around 40 to 50 youths in the entire Sunfeather City that had been invited, and the others numbered in the hundreds. At this moment, a commotion came from the summit. Look, Qiu Mingyu is here. The number 1 beauty of Sunfeather City. Everyone exclaimed, and the noise turned into dead silence. In the hazy darkness of the night, a young girl in green walked over the red carpet. Her hair was like a waterfall, fluttering in the wind. Her exquisite and beautiful face looked like it had been carefully carved out of porcelain. Her hair fluttered in the wind, adding a hazy liveliness to her face, making her look like a fairy from a dream. Qiu Mengyu was around 17 to 18 years old, and her movements were elegant. Her smile was like a flower, and every move she made was charming, unlike Zhao Yufei, Zhao Qin, and the other girls who were immature. No wonder she's the number 1 beauty of Sunfeather City. Don't you guys forget that Qiu Mengyu is one of the top 4 geniuses of Sunfeather City? Many of the geniuses were dazed. In the entire summit, the only girl that could be compared to Qiu Mengyu was Zhao Yufei. Zhao Yufei was even younger, only around 14 to 15 years old. Her beauty was pure and untainted, which was why it wasn't as eye-catching as Qiu Mengyu's. Under the gazes of the crowd, the number 1 beauty of Sunfeather City stepped onto the summit and led 10 geniuses of the Qiu family to the pavilion opposite the Zhao family. Today, Mengyu is honored to host the summit, and I've invited the geniuses of the Sunfeather City from all over. Qiu Mengyu's voice was like a flowing stream, causing one's mind to be dazzled and attracted by her beautiful voice. She was indeed beautiful. Zhao Feng couldn't help but inspect Qiu Mengyu. Zhao Yufei, who was standing beside him, snorted. In the pavilion of the Qiu clan, other than Qiu Mengyu, there was also an elegant scholar dressed in white. He was handsome and his cultivation had reached the peak of the 5th rank. That scholar is called Qiu Changyi, and he's one of the top 4 geniuses of the Qiu family, just like Qiu Mingyu. Zhao Qin introduced in a low voice. So you're saying that the Qiu family has 2 geniuses? Zhao Feng was slightly shocked. That's right, the Qiu family has a strong influence in Sunfeather City, and they don't get along with our Zhao family, Zhao Qi added. At this moment, the top 4 geniuses of Sunfeather City arrived. Zhao Linlong, Xian Wu Heng, Qiu Mingyu and Qiu Changyi. Chapter 47. In the last summit, the 4 geniuses were ranked 1 by 1, and Xian Wu Heng was ranked 1st. Qiu Mengyu was ranked 2nd, Zhao Linlong was 3rd, and Qiu Changyi was 4th. The first was from the Xian family, and the 2nd and 4th were from the Qiu family. The Zhao family was obviously at a disadvantage. But this year, the Zhao family came from behind and overtook them. Not only had Zhao Linlong reached the 6th rank, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei had also reached the 5th rank at a young age, which made the Zhao clan's geniuses much higher than the other clans. Comparing the number of geniuses above the 5th rank, the Zhao clan had 5: Zhao Linlong, Zhao Qi, Zhao Feng, Zhao Han and Zhao Yufei. There were only 3 people in the Xian family, including Xian Tong who had broken through not long ago. The Qiu family had 4, including Qiu Mengyu and Qiu Changyi. I'm afraid this year's Genius Summit will be a fierce battle. The strength of the Zhao clan put pressure on the other 2 clans, causing their expressions to turn grave. After everyone had arrived, the summit officially began. The main purpose of the summit was to exchange pointers and exchange pointers. According to the rules of the summit, everyone could display their skills and exchange pointers with others. After each round of sparring, the host or other people could participate in the evaluation, praise or derogation. At the center of the summit, the skill I am practicing is called Sweeping Cloud Kick, and it has reached the peak level. A youth kicked out with both of his legs, and his speed became faster and faster. In the end, only the afterimages of his legs could be seen. Not bad to train a middle-rank skill to the peak level, the crowd exclaimed. What was rare was that this youth didn't come from one of the 3 major clans, but the number 1 genius of another clan. After the practice, the youth's eyes lit up, and he said to Cho Mengyu, I hope to exchange pointers with the number 1 beauty of Sunfeather City. As soon as he said this, the crowd booed. A country bumpkin like you wants to exchange pointers with Cho Mengyu? If you want to challenge Mengyu, you have to defeat me first. Amongst the Cho family disciples, a youth of the 4th rank of the martial path flew out. The 2 youths were soon locked in combat. The young man from the Cho family cultivated a set of high-grade fist techniques. Its might was not ordinary, and it had reached large success. In the end, after 50 to 60 moves, the Cho clan's disciple won. Humph! How dare you come to the genius summit with your meager strength? What a disgrace! The Cho clan disciple sneered. The cultivation techniques and martial arts that the geniuses of the 3 major clans cultivated were of a higher level, more comprehensive, and stronger than the other forces. After this Cho clan disciple won, another Xian clan disciple challenged him. The genius summit proceeded in an orderly manner. In the beginning, the sparring was between ordinary geniuses in the 4th stage of the martial path. The wind and cloud geniuses and geniuses above the 5th rank didn't interfere. In a short while, Zhao Qin and Zhao Qing of the Zhao clan entered the arena one after another. Some of them won while others lost. As time passed, the geniuses on the stage became stronger and stronger. I, Zhao Han, would like to experience your strength. Zhao Han stood in the middle of the clearing. His eyes scanned the Xian family and the Cho family. His target was the 5th rank of the martial path. The Xian family had 3 cultivators of the 5th rank, led by Xian Wuheng. Although there weren't many of them, they were all strong. Let me. Xian Tong slowly stood up and threw away the straw hat on his head. Last time at the entrance of the Zhao clan, Xian Tong and Zhao Han had fought. At that time, because of Zhao Han's powerful cultivation and inner strength, Xian Tong lost. Loser. Zhao Han coldly laughed and attacked without saying a word. Iron wall hand. Xian Tong's arm was like copper, and his muscles became thicker as he punched out with a domineering inner strength. Cold snow palm. An extremely cold and oppressive inner strength appeared on Zhao Han's body. A cold silver aura accompanied that palm and slowly struck out. Pa! The 2 forces clashed together. Zhao Han retreated a few steps, his qi and blood churning. Xian Tong slowed down and felt a chill on his arm. The 2 had their advantages and disadvantages. Zhao Han's advantage was that his inner strength had reached the peak of the 5th rank. Xian Tong trained in copper skin iron body, so his body and defense were stronger. Because he had reached the 5th rank, Xian Tong's inner strength had caught up, and along with his strength and iron wall hand, his power was extremely strong. After exchanging dozens of blows, the 2 were evenly matched. But as time passed, Zhao Han started to feel tired. Every time they clashed, his arm would feel numb, and his hand would feel like it was about to crack. Xian Tong's defense was strong, and even if his inner strength was at a disadvantage, he wouldn't be injured. After 100 blows, Zhao Han's breathing was heavy, while Xian Tong was steadily improving. The 2 of you will end here. Cho Mengyu smiled and stopped the sparring. Zhao Han, your inner strength is very strong, but your foundation is slightly unstable. I suggest that you strengthen your body. As for Xian Tong, your defense and body training are your strengths, and your attack power is also very strong. However, you rely too much on your strength, and in terms of martial arts techniques, you are slightly lacking. She then commented on the advantages and disadvantages of the 2. Cho Mengyu's comments were accurate. Other than that, there were also other geniuses who participated in the discussion. In this spar, the final verdict was that Xian Tong had won by a small margin. Who else from the Zhao family wants to fight? Zhao Linlong? Or Zhao Feng? Xian Tong crossed his arms and chewed on a blade of grass as he looked at the Zhao family. There were too many geniuses from the Zhao family this year, and the disciples of the Xian family and Chou family were purposely challenging the geniuses from the Zhao family. Xian Tong's gaze traveled back and forth until it finally locked onto Zhao Feng. He wasn't confident that he could challenge Zhao Linlong. Zhao Linlong had entered the Genius Summit with his cultivation of the 6th rank. Other than the top geniuses, normal geniuses didn't dare to challenge him. You've just fought, so I won with an unfair advantage. Zhao Feng stood up and faintly smiled. What he said was the truth. Xian Tong had just fought with Zhao Han, and his stamina and inner strength had been greatly depleted. But his words caused the disciples of the Xian family to feel disgusted. Kid, you're too arrogant. If you don't want to fight, then just say it. I hate cowards. The main reason was that Zhao Feng wasn't famous in Sunfeather City, and many people didn't know him. Zhao Feng's fame was limited to the Zhao family, and he rarely showed himself outside of the family. Among the Xian family disciples, only Xian Fei didn't think so. Instead, his expression became even more solemn. Qiu Mingyu suggested with a smile, "Why don't we let Xian Tong rest for a while, and Zhao Feng, you can show off your skills or spar with the others?" Her beautiful eyes were clear and rippling, and she took a few more glances at Zhao Yufei, who was in the distance, with slight interest. Zhao Yufei was a bit embarrassed and stuck out her tongue. Zhao Feng felt weird, as he felt that this Qiu Mingyu seemed to know him. "Who wants to spar with me?" he said with a smile. "Let me." A youth with a scar jumped out from among the disciples of the Xian family. It was Xian Fei. After 2 months, Xian Fei's cultivation had reached the peak of the 4th rank. "I'm afraid you're no match for me." Zhao Feng stared at Xian Fei calmly. "I know." Xian Fei took a deep breath, and his eyes became sharp. The long saber in his hand had not been released, but there was a buzzing sound. Poochie. The edge of the saber was suffused with a layer of sharp aura. It cut through the air and produced a sharp whistling sound. The cold flow of the saber light transformed into a gale wave, wave after wave. Wild wind dance. Xian Fei pushed his blade to the limit, and everything within a yard was surrounded by the wind. The blade and the wind seemed to have merged into one, creating a song of blade dance. Facing such an attack, Zhao Feng was shocked. He didn't expect Xian Fei's strength to be able to challenge the 5th rank of the martial path. In terms of offense, Xian Fei was even stronger than Xian Tong. Lightly micro-step. Zhao Feng's figure suddenly became erratic, and wherever he went, there would be afterimages. Poochie. 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 Xian Fei's attacks and the afterimages turned into bubbles and nothingness. Casually, Zhao Feng flashed around Xian Fei's body, and the latter couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. Zhao Feng's movement skill is probably close to Zhao Linlong's shadow step. Zhao Feng was shocked. Raging Dragon Fist. Zhao Feng suddenly attacked, his fists howling like the roar of an angry dragon. Pung! Dang! The fist and the saber clashed several times. Xian Fei was forced back, and his blood and qi were shaken. This was under the situation where Zhao Feng controlled his cultivation to be at the peak of the 4th rank. Dang! After 10 moves, Xian Fei's blade was knocked away by Zhao Feng's finger. That finger seemed ordinary, but it was extraordinarily powerful. Xian Fei's blade was knocked back tens of meters, and it fell to the ground with a clang. Xian Fei admires your strength. Other than Xian Wuheng, you are the second expert that I am willing to submit to. Xian Fei didn't give up, and he turned around to pick up his blade. Pressure and encouragement over and over again would only serve as a greater motivation for his growth and progress. One day you will become an expert in the path of the blade. Zhao Feng couldn't help but praise. He could see potential and tenacity in Xian Fei, which was something that most of the geniuses here didn't have. After defeating Xian Fei, Zhao Feng showed his strength. Even if his opponent was only at the 4th stage of the martial path, anyone with a discerning eye could tell how strong he was. It was especially so for the last finger. With just a light tap, it sent Xian Fei's saber flying. Zhao Feng, you have improved a lot. Xian Tong slowly got up. After a moment of rest, he had more or less recovered. That was because the battle with Zhao Han didn't injure him too much. I lost to you last time, and this time I will take revenge. Zhao Feng's face was serious. You are too humble. Last time, you were not at the 4th rank of the martial path, and I couldn't do anything to your movement technique. This time I hope that you won't hide, and you will fight like a real man. Xian Tong wasn't arrogant. Then I won't be polite. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and threw a simple punch. Good. Xian Tong laughed. He had never been afraid of a head-on clash. Clang! The two fists were like machines forged from copper and iron. When they collided with each other, they produced the sound of an exploding wok. Formless waves of air and afterlife reverberated, rushing in all directions. Many of the geniuses present felt their eardrums explode. What terrifying strength! Many of the spectators had lingering fear. That sound alone was enough to shake their souls. After taking the punch, the two of them stood still like statues. The crowd was dead silent. After a while, one of them trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 48. It was a head-on clash of strength. There were no fancy techniques, only raw power. Only one move was enough to determine the winner. Many of the geniuses were shocked and couldn't believe their eyes. The one who was injured was Xian Tong. Xian Tong wasn't like Zhao Feng. He was famous among the younger generation in Sunfeather City, and he was ranked second only to the 4 great geniuses in the last Genius Summit. In many people's minds, Xian Tong's body tempering skill was one of the best in the younger generation. However, no one had expected that he would be defeated in one move, and he had lost in a contest of strength. I lost. If I'm not wrong, you're practicing the metal wall technique, which is at least at the peak of the 4th stage. Xian Tong wiped the blood off his mouth. He had seen through the body tempering skill that Zhao Feng was practicing. The metal wall technique was more advanced than the copper skin metal body, and it was more difficult to comprehend. In terms of power, the metal wall technique was no weaker than a top-tier martial art. Rumor had it that it was a simplified version of the legendary holy martial art, silver wall technique. That's right. Zhao Feng didn't deny it. His metal wall technique wasn't just at the peak of the 4th stage. A few days ago he had reached the 5th stage. When did Sunfeather City have such a person? His body tempering skill is even better than Xian Tong's. His defense is probably the best in the younger generation in Sunfeather City. After defeating Xian Tong, Zhao Feng's fame rose, and many of the young geniuses were talking about him. After the battle, Zhao Feng didn't continue and returned to the Zhao clan's pavilion. Zhao Han, Zhao Qi, and the others looked at him with shock and fear, especially Zhao Han. This was especially so for Zhao Han. He couldn't even beat Xian Tong in 100 moves, but Zhao Feng had defeated him in one move. It seemed like the gap between him and Zhao Feng was getting bigger and bigger after the family martial arts competition, of course. Since Zhao Feng and Xian Tong were fighting with brute force, it was normal for the winner to be decided in one move. Therefore, Zhao Linlong, who was the most powerful person in the Zhao clan, only showed a hint of surprise on his face, but he soon recovered his composure. One by one, the young geniuses appeared on the stage. After the time it takes to burn half an incense stick. Tsk, it's my turn. A lazy youth walked out of the Zhao family. He was also at the 5th rank of the martial path. This time it was Zhao Qi in terms of ranking. Zhao Qi was even one rank higher than Zhao Feng, just below Zhao Linlong. Not only was Zhao Qi's cultivation high, he was also proficient in all sorts of martial arts. The moment he went up, he defeated a 5th-rank genius from the Xian family and the Chou family. Especially at the last moment, Zhao Qi had used a top-notch fist art. Although it was not a high level of mastery, its power was shocking. Right now, Zhao Qi's momentum was even greater than Zhao Feng's. Now, the only opponents he could challenge were those who were at the level of the legendary geniuses. Xian Wuheng, Qiu Mengyu, Qiu Changyi. Qiu Changyi, I lost to you a year ago. I will definitely lose this time. Zhao Qi was very confident. Haha, you have indeed improved a lot. However, it won't be that easy to defeat me. Qiu Changyi was dressed like a scholar. He was handsome and elegant. At the center of the summit, two figures clashed. Facing Zhao Qi, even Qiu Changyi, one of the 4 great geniuses, had to face him seriously. This was because Zhao Qi's offense, defense, and speed were all very strong. He almost had no weaknesses, and he had also comprehended a peak-ranked martial art. Qiu Changyi's forte was movement and lightness. Shush! Shush! In the darkness of the night, a white-robed figure could be seen, as graceful as a feather, coming and going like the wind. Flowing feather step. Flowing feather flying cloud. Qiu Changyi's movement skill and lightness skill were of the same origin. The two complemented each other and their power was greatly increased. This was especially so for his flowing feather flying cloud, which had been trained to the peak. There was only one person in the younger generation of the Zhao clan who had trained a high-ranked movement skill to the peak. Zhao Qin said, in terms of movement speed, Qiu Changyi is the strongest in the younger generation. Anyone who met him at the summit would find it hard to deal with him. The two figures clashed on the stage. Zhao Qi's performance was outstanding in all aspects. Although there was a slight difference in speed, he was able to last for 100 moves. The two geniuses were locked in a stalemate. There was no clear victor. One had a steady aura while the other was carefree. According to the rules of the summit, the winner would be decided by the people on the stage. After some discussion, it was decided that Qiu Changyi had the upper hand. The reason was that Qiu Changyi had the upper hand in the battle, and his inner force was more profound. Furthermore, the host was the Qiu family, so although the decision was unfair, there wasn't much to criticize. Qiu Changyi didn't stop after winning. His eyes moved and landed on Zhao Yufei with interest. Miss Yufei. Qiu Changyi had a smile in his eyes. He didn't try to hide his admiration and affection. After spending a lot of time with beauties like Qiu Mengyu, he was immune to normal beauties. However, ever since he saw Zhao Yufei, his eyes lit up and his heart couldn't stay calm anymore. If he missed out on a girl like her, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Qiu Changyi, you want to spar with me? Zhao Yufei had a smile on her face. She was not afraid at all. No. He's the one I want to challenge. Qiu Changyi's eyes landed on Zhao Feng, who was standing next to her. Many people were confused by the sudden turn of events. Why me? Although Zhao Feng wasn't afraid of fighting, he was also puzzled. I want to know what's so special about Brother Zhao that a beauty like Miss Yufei would barge into the Qiu family to ask for an invitation for you. Qiu Changyi stared at Zhao Feng. He knew that Zhao Yufei might be in love with Zhao Feng. If he wanted to replace Zhao Feng, he had to defeat Zhao Feng. What? Yufei asked for an invitation for him? Zhao Linlong's heart was filled with jealousy. He couldn't help but look at Zhao Feng in a new light. Thank you, Yufei. Zhao Feng smiled at Zhao Yufei gratefully. He finally understood how this invitation came about. Since Zhao Linlong always ignored him, it was very likely that he didn't get an invitation. We're good friends and neighbors. If you want to thank me, you have to defeat him. Zhao Yufei smiled. Her smile was like a lotus that bloomed after the rain. On her pure white skin there was a hint of red. At that moment her beauty even overshadowed Qiu Mengyu, the most beautiful girl of Sunfeather City. All right, I'll do as I say. Zhao Feng felt a warm current burning in his heart. Not for anything else, but for Zhao Yufei to ask for an invitation for him. He couldn't give in and he couldn't lose. Zhao Feng, I hope you won't disappoint the girl behind you. Qiu Changyi was a little envious and jealous. However, it was Zhao Linlong who was burning with jealousy. Why? How dare this branch family brat take my woman? Zhao Linlong's expression flickered in the night, making him seem slightly gloomy. At that moment two figures clashed with each other. Qiu Changyi's movement technique was still elegant, like a white colt flashing across a crevice. He was dressed in white and looked elegant. Coupled with his movement skill, he became the focus of the ladies. However, his opponent's movement skill was also very fast. Lightly floating fairy. Lightly micro step. Zhao Feng used his movement skill and movement skill. These two martial arts of his were of the same origin, and they were related to each other. Up until now, Zhao Feng's lightly floating fairy was still at the initial success level. It was only slightly better than before, but it was still a distance away from the greater success level. However, this movement skill couldn't be measured by common sense. It was even more powerful than other top-tier martial arts. In terms of speed, Zhao Feng used 70 to 80% of his strength to fight Qiu Changyi to a draw. As for lightly microstep, he had only used it to the greater success level, which made Qiu Changyi feel helpless. How could this be? This guy's speed and movement skill are on par with mine. Qiu Changyi's heart trembled as cold sweat appeared on his back. For a long time, he was known as the best among his peers in Sunfeather City. However, today there was someone who was on par with him. Qiu Changyi couldn't beat his opponent in what he was best at. However, Zhao Feng's body tempering skills and attack skills were obviously better than his. Star Finger! Zhao Feng yelled as he pointed his finger, along with the sharp whistling sound of his martial path inner force. Whoosh! That finger instantly condensed the martial path inner force into a single point and merged it with all the energy in his body. It drew a faint green dot in the air at an extremely fast speed. Poof! Qiu Changyi couldn't dodge it and took the attack head-on. He felt a sharp pain in his arm and lost all feeling in it. There was even an extremely condensed inner force that was directed into his organs, which almost made him puke blood. Tongue! 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 He took a few steps back before regaining his balance. Top-tier finger skill? How can I lose? Qiu Changyi gritted his teeth and prepared to use his ultimate skill. Pa! An iron-like arm lightly patted on his shoulder. What? Qiu Changyi felt like he had fallen into an ice cellar. It turned out that Zhao Feng had found an opening when Qiu Changyi was in a daze, and used the light micro-steps to move behind him at an unbelievable angle and speed. I lost? Qiu Changyi was in a daze. He still couldn't believe it. But that was the truth. Zhao Feng's speed was not any slower than his and his attacks were stronger. He had even learned the famous Star Finger. Star Finger! Zhao Linlong's eyebrows twitched. Star Finger and Spatial Cloud Finger were both top-notch martial arts with great offensive power. Zhao Tiansong had once said to him, "The weaving cloud finger that I taught you is the best among all the top martial arts in the Zhao family. If you don't teach me Star Finger, the other top martial arts won't be able to compete with you." Then why didn't you teach me Star Finger? Zhao Linlong was confused. Star Finger is too hard to learn and it's very dangerous. One mistake and you might hurt yourself. Plus, even if you're the head of the family, I can't just let you go to the martial arts library and pick a top martial art. The scene from back then replayed in his mind. Luckily, Zhao Feng's Star Finger has only reached the second level. If he had reached the third level, it would be troublesome. Zhao Linlong let out a sigh of relief. Judging from the scene just now, Zhao Feng's Star Finger shouldn't have reached the third level. Chapter 49. Zhao Feng used Star Finger and defeated Qiu Changyi with one finger. This caused an uproar at the Genius Summit. When did this kid come out? Why haven't I heard of him before? He just defeated Xian Tong with one move. And now even Qiu Changyi has lost to him. The uproar was more intense than the previous battles. This was because Qiu Changyi was one of the 4 great geniuses of the last Genius Summit. Zhao Feng had defeated Qiu Changyi, making him one of the 4 great geniuses of this Genius Summit. The geniuses of the Zhao clan who were familiar with Zhao Feng were also shocked. Zhao Qi, Zhao Han, and Zhao Qin looked at each other with shock on their faces. He really won. Zhao Yufei's eyes were filled with joy, as if she was even happier than if she had won. The Zhao family has someone so powerful apart from Zhao Linlong. What's more, he's only 14 years old. Qiu Mengyu's eyes were filled with worry and wariness. In Sunfeather City, the 3 great families competed with each other. Especially the Qiu family and the Zhao family. They had been opposing each other for a long time, and there had been constant friction over different industries and businesses. The potential of the new generation of disciples was related to the future of the 3 families. After defeating Qiu Changyi, Zhao Feng returned to the pavilion where the Zhao clan was. He smiled at Zhao Yufei. "You did what you said. I hope you didn't disappoint me." "Course not. I was just joking. I just wanted to test brother Zhao Feng's true strength." Zhao Yufei's eyes flickered with a cunning smile and the dimples on her face were like pears. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be stunned. All of a sudden, he felt an enmity coming from the side. Glancing over, Zhao Linlong's face was cold and filled with warning. Zhao Feng shook his head. Zhao Linlong thought that he was also pursuing Zhao Yufei and warned him many times. He didn't bother to explain. With Zhao Feng's current strength, he didn't fear anyone in his generation. The summit continued to take place, as the top geniuses of Sunfeather City continued to make their moves. At a certain stage, the host of the summit, Qiu Mengyu, personally demonstrated. Qiu Mingyu defeated several geniuses of the 4th and 5th ranks with ease. With Zhao Qin and Zhao Qing's strength, they couldn't even last 3 moves against Qiu Mingyu. The other 5th rank geniuses like Zhao Qi and Zhao Han couldn't last more than 20 moves. Many people were left speechless. Qiu Mingyu is half a level higher than Qiu Chang'e. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. For a long time, Qiu Mingyu had given the impression that she was the most beautiful girl in Sun Feather City. In terms of strength, Qiu Mingyu was ranked 2nd in the last summit, which was even higher than Zhao Linlong. Zhao Linlong, you have the highest cultivation among the new talents of Sun Feather City. If I may be so bold, I would like to spar with you, Qiu Mingyu said with a smile. Since I lost to you last time, I can't avoid a fight this time. Zhao Linlong slowly stood up and the aura of the 6th rank of the martial path was released, bringing with it an invisible pressure. At this moment, he looked around the summit with an aloof and disdainful look. However, you fought a few times just now, so I won by unfair means. Zhao Linlong changed the topic. Brother Linlong is indeed the top genius of the Zhao clan. Mingyu, please wait for a while. Qiu Mingyu smiled and didn't reject. Facing Zhao Linlong, who had the highest cultivation, she had to give it her all. Is there anyone who dares to fight with me? Zhao Linlong let out a long laugh as his inner strength surged around him, causing the wind to howl around him. His eyes scanned the Qiu and Xian families with an inexplicable pressure. Mingyu, let me test him. A skinny youth from the Qiu family said to Qiu Mingyu. Qiu Lin, be careful. Don't fight him head-on. Qiu Mingyu nodded and started to recover her energy. Sung, a skinny youth of the 5th rank of the martial path, landed in the middle of the summit. Zhao Linlong, I lost to you last time. Let's fight again today. Qiu Lin was full of battle intent as a layer of dark green energy circulated around his arms. He was at the peak of the 5th rank of the martial path. Let's see how many moves you can take. Zhao Linlong lightly laughed and with a schwa his figure flashed, leaving behind a few golden afterimages in the night. Most of the people present saw the figures of Zhao Linlong at the same time. High-ranked martial art Shadow Step. This martial art can unleash its greatest power at night. Some of the spectators exclaimed. At this moment, only Zhao Linlong's afterimages could be seen in the night. Qiu Lin's heart skipped a beat. His eyes couldn't even see Zhao Linlong's movements, so it was hard for him to predict his attack. Azure Wind Palm. He gritted his teeth and a dark green aura surged out from his palm. A deep and thick wind howled as it swept forward a few meters. Boom! Poof! Poof! His palm technique was fast and powerful, causing gusts of wind to howl as it hit Zhao Linlong's position. However, after a few moves, he couldn't even touch the hem of Zhao Linlong's clothes. Whoosh! Zhao Linlong's ghostly golden afterimages were shattered again and disappeared from his sight. Qiu Lin had a bad feeling as he felt a gust of wind coming from the side. Azure Wind Reversal! He shouted in shock. The wind from his palm reverberated, and a dark green aura surged from his body, rushing backward with the force of his palm. Pa! A strange sound echoed in the night sky. Qiu Lin's movement froze and his face was full of shock. The arm that he was waving was unable to move even an inch. The full-powered palm strike of an advanced mastery stage martial artist was forcibly stopped in midair. Hiss! Many people in the crowd gasped in shock. Behind Qiu Lin, there was a man in a loose golden robe. He had one hand on Qiu Lin's shoulder. Qiu Lin's back was covered in cold sweat. He felt the hand on his shoulder was extremely heavy. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't move. Even the martial arts inner force in his body was intimidated by the domineering aura. Shadow Step, an advanced movement skill at the peak level. Coupled with Zhao Linlong's 6th rank cultivation, Qiu Lin can't even take one attack from him. Qiu Chang'e took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with shock. Zhao Linlong's strength had exceeded everyone's expectations this time. Who else wants to fight me? Zhao Linlong stood in the middle of the stage. His loose golden robe fluttered in the wind like a king. Me! After Qiu Lin's defeat, a young man of the 5th rank walked out from the Xian family. His ranking was slightly higher than Xian Fei and Xian Tong. I'll defeat you in 3 moves. Zhao Linlong smiled. Whoosh! His golden figure was like a gust of wind in the night. The two figures clashed and with a pong-pong, The youth of the 5th stage of the martial path was sent flying. Whoosh! A purple azure aura surrounded Zhao Linlong's body, and when combined with his golden robe, his aura increased once again. Who else? Zhao Linlong scanned the crowd. He glanced at Qiu Mengyu and Xian Wuheng. Xian Wuheng closed his eyes and didn't respond. He seemed to have no interest in fighting. Just when Zhao Linlong was thinking about who to challenge. Me! Qiu Mengyu leaped up gracefully like a streak of green silk. She danced gracefully like a fairy, elegant and mysterious. She was hazy like a dream as she landed at the center of the summit. What kind of movement skill is that? Some of the youths were dazed. Qiu Mengyu's movement skill was hazy and ethereal. Her body was soft as if it didn't have any bones. Great! Zhao Linlong used Shadow Step and a few golden figures merged into the night and clashed with the azure figure. Bang! The two figures occasionally clashed in the air, but they soon passed each other. Every time they clashed, Qiu Mengyu's body would be strangely flexible. She would use the other's force to fight back, spinning back and forth. Qiu Mengyu's graceful serpent flexible body is a set of special body-refining martial arts. It allows her body to be extremely flexible, allowing her to withstand greater strength. Furthermore, she's good at leveraging strength. Martial artists of the same level cannot hurt her at all, Zhao Qin introduced. In terms of body-strengthening martial arts, Qiu Mengyu was second only to Zhao Feng and on par with Xian Tong. However, Qiu Mengyu's body-strengthening martial art was even more special. Furthermore, Qiu Mengyu's movement skill weren't any weaker than Qiu Changyi's, and her inner strength was close to the 6th rank. With Zhao Linlong's ability, he didn't gain the upper hand even after using Shadow Step to the limit. 30 moves. 40 moves. Time passed bit by bit. Zhao Linlong's advantage was slowly increasing. His movement skill was at a high level and his cultivation was strong, so he was able to suppress Qiu Mengyu. Shuttle Cloud Finger. After 50 moves, Zhao Linlong used his peak-ranked martial art. Shu. The azure and violet aura on the tip of his finger condensed into the shape of a needle, flickering between his fingers as if piercing through the clouds and mist in the sky. Qiu Mengyu couldn't take it anymore, and she almost spat out blood after blocking more than 10 moves. Brother Linlong's progress is amazing. I admire your Shadow Step and Shuttle Cloud Finger. Qiu Mengyu admitted defeat with a smile. Although she lost, it was within reason. In this summit, Zhao Linlong's momentum was too strong, and he was able to dominate the crowd with his 6th rank cultivation. Maybe only Xian Wuheng, who was ranked first last, could fight him. After defeating Qiu Mengyu, Zhao Linlong's only opponent was Xian Wuheng. Is there anyone else who wants to fight? Zhao Linlong took a deep breath and his eyes scanned the crowd. His gaze paused on Zhao Feng's face with disdain. When his gaze met Zhao Yufei's, it became warm and passionate again. He didn't hide his adoration at all. Just wait and witness that glorious moment. Finally, Zhao Linlong's gaze landed on Xian Wuheng. The other geniuses also looked towards Xian Wuheng with anticipation. Xian Wuheng, the king of the previous summit who had defeated the other 3 great geniuses with absolute strength. Xian Wuheng! Xian Wuheng! Cheers came from the crowd. Under everyone's gaze, Xian Wuheng slowly stood up and said calmly, 6th rank of the martial path is useless. Same rules, 10 moves. Hua! The crowd went into an uproar. 10 moves? What did he mean? Zhao Feng was slightly shocked as he looked at the other geniuses of the Zhao clan. Xian Wuheng has a nickname. 10 moves more. Zhao Qi took a deep breath. 10 moves more? Up until now, no one in the same generation has been able to take 10 moves from him. Never. Chapter 50. Xian Wuheng lost in 10 moves. Xian Wuheng's appearance had pushed the summit to a new peak. The cheers of the spectators came from all directions. As the first in the last summit, Xian Wuheng's fame and reputation were unparalleled. Xian Wuheng, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Zhao Linlong's eyes flashed with battle intent. His inner strength flowed like a stream of iron. The aura of the 6th rank of the martial path was like a gust of wind that swept across the entire arena. Zhao Linlong, your stamina has been exhausted. It's best if you rest for a few rounds. Qiu Mingyu reminded him kindly. Zhao Linlong had just fought a few times, especially with Qiu Mingyu. His stamina and inner strength had been exhausted, and he only had 70 to 80% of his peak. If it was against an ordinary opponent, Zhao Linlong wouldn't even consider this problem. But this time his opponent was Xian Wuheng, the prodigy who had defeated him in 10 moves. Brother Linlong, rest for a while. Let me experience his strength. Zhao Ling leapt into the air, his spear in hand. In the Zhao clan's tournament, Zhao Ling was ranked 7th. Originally, he didn't have the right to participate in the summit. But Zhao Linlong had given him this chance, stripping Zhao Feng of his spot. Therefore Zhao Ling was grateful to Zhao Linlong and had helped him this time. Alright, don't force yourself. Zhao Linlong nodded and returned to the pavilion to rest. With Zhao Ling and the others fighting, he could at least test Xian Wuheng's strength. Xian Wuheng, take my spear! Zhao Qing cried out in alarm. The spear in his hand transformed into a wave of silver light that swept through the night. It was hard to tell which one was real in the dark. Xian Wuheng stood on the spot, one hand behind his back, not moving an inch. Preposterous! Zhao Ling was enraged. Xian Wuheng's performance showed that he didn't see him as an opponent at all. Puchi! The spear's shadow intertwined, piercing towards Xian Wuheng's left shoulder. Xian Wuheng was as calm as an ancient well. He did not move an inch from where he was and slowly raised his finger. Clang! The ordinary finger hit the weak point of the spear tip, and a wisp of condensed inner strength surged in like lightning. Zhao Qing's qi and blood were in turmoil. The webbing between his thumb and forefinger trembled, and he almost lost his balance. Let go! Xian Wuheng struck out with his palm, sending an indescribable force through the spear, causing Zhao Qing to vomit blood on the spot. Clang! The spear flew out of Zhao Qing's hand, and he staggered back a few steps as he spat out a mouthful of blood. With a tap and a slap, Zhao Qing was defeated, his spear slipping from his hand. This scene shocked many of the geniuses present, but it was within their expectations. After all, Xian Wuheng was the top genius in the upper realm. If it was Zhao Linlong, he would probably be able to achieve the same result. In the pavilion, Zhao Feng's expression was grave. His left eye had clearly seen the entire process of Xian Wuheng's attack. Xian Wuheng's seemingly casual tap had hit Zhao Qing's weak spot. It was almost identical to the flaw that Zhao Qing had seen with his left eye. Not only that, Xian Wuheng's attack seemed to follow the most logical path, and it was in perfect harmony with the environment. Zhao Feng had only felt this from the mysterious immature girl at the Valley of the Blood Python. But the feeling of the immature girl was 10 times stronger than Xian Wuheng's. Brother Linlong, hurry up and recover. I'll go test him and force him to use his true strength. Zhao Qi's eyes twinkled and he leapt into the air. Make your move. Xian Wuheng still stood with his hands behind his back, his face expressionless. Sky howling fist. Zhao Qi's expression was cold as he used a high-ranked fist skill that was close to the peak. At the same time, he used a high-ranked footwork skill and circulated his inner force and body tempering technique. Zhao Qi's strength was close to the top geniuses, and he had no weaknesses in any aspect. He was the most suitable person to test Xian Wuheng. Breaking wind finger. Xian Wuheng's index finger pierced through the air, and his inner force howled like a sharp blade. Boom! Xian Wuheng's finger actually brushed past the edge of Zhao Qi's palm. Zhao Qi staggered and he almost fell to the ground. His arm went numb and he almost lost all feeling. Breaking wind finger? That seems to be a middle-ranked martial art. Wait, I've trained the breaking wind finger before, but why is it different from his? The audience was in an uproar, and the sounds of discussion were endless. Taking a deep breath, Zhao Qi's expression became solemn, as he used a high-level movement technique to escape from danger. Pa! Pa! The two of them exchanged punches and fingers. 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves. Xian Wuheng stood calmly on the spot, not moving an inch. Zhao Qi panted heavily as sweat beaded on his forehead. His face was red and dry. It had only been 3 moves. Every move from Xian Wuheng would exhaust a large amount of his mental energy, which was equivalent to exchanging hundreds of moves with someone of the same cultivation. Xian Wuheng's every move seemed to counter him. The same inner strength, the same amount of force, and Xian Wuheng's attacks seemed to have the advantage of timing and location. When it came to the fifth move, Zhao Qi's chest, arms, palms, and other parts of his body were hit. On the sixth move, Xian Wuheng suddenly changed to a middle-level kick technique, and with a bang, he kicked Zhao Qi's arm. Zhao Qi cried out in pain. His arm was almost fractured and he fell to the ground in cold sweat. Xian Wuheng had used a middle-ranked finger skill and a middle-ranked footwork skill to defeat Zhao Qi. It's the same as last year. All middle-ranked martial arts. Every single one of his middle-ranked martial arts has reached the peak level. Some of the more experienced geniuses saw that something was wrong. At the center of the summit, Xian Wuheng stood calmly with his hands behind his back, as if he hadn't used any energy at all. After Zhao Qi's defeat, the Qiu family also sent out a few geniuses to challenge him. Even Qiu Changyi, who was one of the top geniuses in the last summit, went to test him. But the result was the same. The geniuses all lost to Xian Wuheng's middle-ranked martial arts. Even Qiu Changyi only lasted until the seventh move. Xian Wuheng kept one hand behind his back as he attacked. He only used one hand. His opponents of the same rank were like peasants who didn't know martial arts and only knew how to use brute force. It's hard to believe. Zhao Feng had done some calculations when he was watching the battles. Xian Wuheng had used a total of 5 to 6 middle-ranked martial arts, and every single one of them had reached the peak level. Some of the moves had even surpassed the limits of original martial arts, and were even more powerful than before. At the same time, on a big tree near the Genius Summit, 2 figures in dark silver light armor stood on a tree branch, hidden in the shadows of the night. To have trained so many middle-ranked martial arts to the peak level, I can't believe there's such a genius in this small Sunfeather city. He's at least in the top 10 of his generation in the prefecture capital. One of the dark silver figures said. You've underestimated him. Although he hasn't reached the breaking chi stage, he has the senses of a normal martial master. You should know what this means. The other voice was slightly hoarse. In the area where the summit was located, the geniuses of the 3 great families, including some elders and guests, didn't even notice these 2 uninvited guests. At the center of the summit, Xian Wuheng stood with his hands behind his back, his face expressionless. After a while, no one else dared to challenge him. Everyone's gazes turned towards Zhao Linlong. Zhao Linlong's cultivation had reached the 6th rank of the martial path, and he was the only genius who could compete with Xian Wuheng. Xian Wuheng also looked at the pavilion where the Zhao clan was, as if he was waiting for something. Xian Wuheng, are you ready? Zhao Linlong stood up and his mental energy reached its peak. His inner strength flowed like a river and he roared. The powerful aura of the 6th rank of the martial path made the disciples of the Zhao clan in the pavilion feel uncomfortable. I don't need to prepare. Xian Wuheng didn't use much of his energy after fighting so many battles. This was because all of his opponents were easily defeated, and after a short moment of respite they recovered to their peak. Very well. As soon as Zhao Linlong finished speaking, he left a golden afterimage on the spot. At the center of the summit, as the 2 geniuses faced each other, the spectators all held their breaths. Even the 2 silvery figures in the shadow of the tree looked on with interest. Shadow step. Zhao Linlong suddenly moved, leaving a few golden afterimages in the night. His speed was like a ghost and it was impossible to see his figure clearly, but one could hear a rustling sound. Many people knew that Zhao Linlong's movement technique, shadow step, had reached the peak. Furthermore, shadow step could achieve twice the result with half the effort in the night. Who? Xian Wuheng let out a breath and slowly let go of the hand behind his back, revealing a serious expression. Ever since they started sparring, he had only fought with one hand. This time, his opponent had reached the 6th rank of the martial path, so he couldn't be careless. Facing Zhao Linlong's movement technique, Xian Wuheng stood still like a statue. Zhao Feng's left eye could clearly see Xian Wuheng's ears moving at a high frequency, merging with his breathing. I'm afraid Zhao Linlong's movement technique will be useless against him. He shook his head and sighed. I don't believe it. Zhao Ling wasn't convinced and coldly snorted. Brother Linlong's movement technique has reached the peak, and no one can beat him. Furthermore, his cultivation is the highest. For a long time he had always admired and had confidence in Zhao Linlong. Zhao Feng smiled but didn't say anything. Pa! In the night, a golden figure appeared behind Xian Wuheng, and his palm hit the target. Too fast. No one saw when Zhao Linlong appeared behind Xian Wuheng. However, at the last moment Xian Wuheng also moved. He was neither fast nor slow as he slightly tilted his back. That lightning-like palm missed by half an inch, almost brushing against his clothes. The palm missed. At first glance it looked like Zhao Linlong had hit his target, but he hadn't. He had missed by just a bit. Roundhouse kick. Xian Wuheng's body turned, and without turning his head, he kicked the stunned Zhao Linlong. Pung! Zhao Linlong circulated his inner strength of the 6th rank of the martial path to block Xian Wuheng's fist, but he was forced back a step. Just as Zhao Feng expected, Zhao Linlong's movement technique was useless against Xian Wuheng. How do you know that Zhao Linlong's shadow step doesn't work against Xian Wuheng? Zhao Yufei asked curiously. Zhao Ling coldly laughed. He's just lucky. He's biased against brother Linlong. I'm biased against him? Zhao Feng almost burst out laughing. Who's biased against who? What are you laughing at? Let's make a bet. Zhao Ling flew into a rage. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.